Chapter 4388. Purple Moon Sage King asked coldly. What should we do next? It won't bind us forever, right? Black Mountain said. Don't worry, the four-spirit heaven lock array is incomparably mystical. It won't be broken so easily. However, it's already at the final stage. There will definitely be some powerful methods. You might feel that some of your energy is being drained, but don't worry. Give me some time and I'll be able to break it completely. Sure enough, after Black Mountain said that, Purple Moon Sage King and the others felt the energy in their bodies flying out. It was as if something below them had been devoured. They were shocked, but Black Mountain had already told them in advance, so they weren't too surprised. However, not long after, they frowned. Divine Ghost Sage King said, What's going on? We've already absorbed 1/5 of the energy. Is it not done yet? Ghost Voice said, Wait a while more. However, after a while, Soaring Sky Sage King also became impatient. Damn it, what are we waiting for? You're playing tricks. Silver Corpse Sage King's eyes were emitting extremely cold, killing intent. 1/3 of their energy had already been drained. This caused them to be shocked. You'd better not play tricks or you'll die miserably. This time, Black Mountain didn't say anything. It'll be done soon. Instead he asked, Oh, how miserably. Seeing the change in attitude, Silver Corpse Sage King and the others frowned. You're indeed playing tricks. Scram. With a furious roar, the energy in their bodies erupted, wanting to break the chains. Then they forcefully searched their souls. Although the other party came from the buried Emperor Star, so what? The other party dared to play tricks on them, completely angering them. No one could withstand the anger of a Sage King. However, in the next instant they were all stunned, because they discovered that the 6 chains didn't break. Instead, they seemed to have turned into huge dragons, firmly enveloping them. Damn it, Purple Moon Sage King cried out in alarm and instantly shot out a terrifying moonlight. The moonlight could destroy heaven and earth, but it couldn't break the chains. Soaring Sky Sage King's side was the same. The 4 great Sage Kings were all stunned. They roared crazily, but the more they fought back, the more energy they discovered was being absorbed. In the end, half of their energy was already gone. Damn it, what did you do to us? Soaring Sky Sage King roared crazily. Damn ant, when I come out, I'll tear you to pieces. The Silver Corpse Sage King's eyes were also filled with killing intent. Now they knew that this guy had designed a trap to trap them. He Shan raised his head to the sky and laughed. It's useless. Stop struggling. The 4 of you can't break it because you're also trapped by the Great Four Spiritual Heaven Lock Array. After he finished speaking, He Shan regained his coldness. His body emitted a supreme aura, as though he was a god looking down on the other party. The 4 great Sage Kings roared madly, but unfortunately, they were unable to break free. Instead, more and more of their strength was being absorbed. As for the absorbed power, it once again turned into the unsealing formation, allowing He Shan to enter. That's great. Did I succeed? When Lin Xian and the others saw this scene from afar, a smile appeared on their faces. Peerless Saint King and the rest also began to break the array. They were about to come out. The rest of the matter was easy to handle. Black Mountain looked at Lin Xian and said, All right, they're trapped. I'm going to go down and look for the creation. Don't come down. It's very dangerous inside. After he finished speaking, he disappeared in a flash. The toad wanted to sneak in and take advantage of the situation. However, the moment he went down, he was scared out of his wits. Damn it, what exactly is sealed inside? The toad did not dare to go down even if he was beaten to death. The dark red divine dragon looked and shook his head. He did not go down. With such a terrifying aura, even a half-step Saint King would not dare to go down. He Shan was the remnant soul of the great sage. That was why he had such a method. Ye old things, you're finally in my hands today. Lin Xian looked at the 4 great Sage Kings and sneered. He first looked at the Silver Corpse Saint King. You're very powerful. You dared to kill me before. Try and kill me now. After he finished speaking, he slapped the Silver Corpse Saint King's face. The Silver Corpse Saint King was stunned. What was he doing? How dare he slap him? Smoke was coming out of his eyes. His gaze was like a sword that could pierce through everything. Lin Xian was shocked. He quickly used the great sage to defend himself. Old thing, you still dare to glare at me. Do you believe that I'll beat your eyes out? Another 2 slaps flew out. Damn brat, do you want to die? The Silver Corpse Saint King roared. As a high and mighty Saint King, he controlled everything. No one had ever dared to treat him like this. On the other side, the Flying Sky Saint King also roared. Damn ant, quickly kneel down. Kneel your grandpa. The dark red divine dragon roared. The toad was even more direct. Watch me, dog beating palm technique. He waved his claws and slapped forward. This kind of attack could not break through the Saint King's defense. However, the words dog-beating palm technique almost made the flying sky Saint King vomit blood. The dark red divine dragon laughed and stared at him. The divine ghost sword king sneered. "Watch my leg." After he finished speaking, he also kicked the other party's face. Qin Xianer was stunned. How could it be like this? In the next moment, she stared at the purple moon Saint King with a cold look in her eyes. The purple moon Saint King was about to cry. He did not want to be attacked like this. Although it could not hurt him, it was worse than killing him. "No, Xianer, you can't do this to me. I'm your martial uncle. I'm now a Saint King. If you attack me, you'll become an enemy of the Joyous Union Palace." After he finished speaking, he was slapped. Qin Xianer waved her hand. "It's all because of you that the Joyous Union Palace became like this. I'll beat you to death." As she spoke, she also attacked crazily and slapped the purple moon Saint King. Slapping the face of a Saint King? This is the first time. The North Demon also joined the battle. The snow-white little monkey happily jumped around on the heads of these Saint Kings. In an instant, an earth-shattering sound rang out in front. The people of the Joyous Union Palace were stunned. Their eyes almost fell out. What did they see? A few young people were crazily slapping the faces of the 4 great sage kings. If this spread out, it would definitely shock the entire starry sky. In the distance, the peerless Saint King and the others tore open the array and came nearby. When they saw this scene, they also had a strange expression. The peerless Saint King took a deep breath and said, "Fortunately, we're in the same group. Otherwise, it would be unimaginable." Kunlun's death was also a joke. "Aha, I guess these guys even have the heart to die." The divine ghost king snorted. "Serves them right. Who asked them to be so arrogant? Now they know what it's like." They did not attack. Instead, they sneered. After Wushuang's death, they directly used the array to record everything that happened below. When the time comes when this thing is released to the myriad worlds, let's see if these Saint Kings still have the face to come out. Chapter 4389. After a series of terrifying attacks, Lin Xian and the rest gritted their teeth. Fuck, their skin is as thick as a rock. They are thicker than the city walls. My hand hurts. The toad is also screaming. The sage rulers were fuming. Their lungs were about to explode from anger. Damn it. I'll catch you guys. I'll tear you into pieces. Fuck you. The toad slapped the other party's face. Do you believe that I'll knock your teeth out? Again. The dark red divine dragon roared, and the few of them attacked again. The sage rulers fainted from anger, but Lin Xian and the rest had their ways to wake them up again. They fainted from anger again. The sage rulers were so angry that they wanted to die. Lin Xian roared. The resentment of being hunted down in the past had all been vented out. The toad and the dark red divine dragon were the same. It was their first time slapping a sage ruler's face. But it was so exciting that they couldn't bear to stop. The sage rulers were so angry that they were bleeding from their 7 orifices. They wanted to kill the other party at all costs. However, at this moment, the void shattered as a frightening palm slapped down, aiming for Lin Xian and the others. Not good. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He instantly brought them into the Great Sage Pagoda. The Great Sage Pagoda was sent flying. Unparalleled Sage Ruler and the rest were watching the show, but when they saw this, their faces changed. A Sage Ruler had attacked. Were there more Sage Rulers? Unparalleled Sage Ruler struck out with his unparalleled sword. The other Sage Rulers also charged over. They protected Lin Xian and the rest behind them. At the same time, they looked at the void coldly. Who was it? With a roar, Kunlun Mountain descended from the sky, shattering the void. Everyone then saw a figure that was shrouded in light appear there. He then stood in the void. This person had an extremely terrifying aura. His face couldn't be seen clearly at all. A cold snort rang out, following which an old figure appeared in the void. He was holding a walking stick, but the aura of desolation on his body swept through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Could the person from the Great Desolate Mansion be the Desolate Heaven Sage King? A few people frowned. Back in the immemorial grotto, Desolate Heaven Holy King had already been killed by the people of the mortal world. However, in the next instant, they realized that it wasn't Sacred King Desolate Heaven. It was an even older person. His chi was just as terrifying. He was a Saint King. The arrival of the Kunlun Sage King should be the other Sage King of the Great Desolate Mansion. Who would have thought that he would come out as well? Then who was this person? They then looked at the mysterious silhouette. That silhouette also had a desolate aura. Could it be the foundation of the Great Desolate Mansion? That's great. Hurry up and save us. The Purple Moon Sage King exclaimed when she saw this scene. The Silver Corpse Sage King and the others also exclaimed, "Fellow Taoist, quickly attack!" The old Sink King waved his hand, and a terrifying chi flew downwards. The destructive power kept dancing in the air. The Peerless Sage King used the Devouring Law to block it. What is the meaning of this? The Great Desolate Mansion's Sage King frowned and stared coldly at the Peerless Sage King and the others. The Peerless Sage King snorted. "Can't you see what I mean? The Acheron Palace, the Great Desolate Mansion, and the Demon City were sealed by my Peerless Sage King. Do you think I will let you save them so easily? It's time for revenge." Having said that, the Peerless Sage King swung his sword downwards. With a loud boom, the sword hit the Silver Corpse Sage King. The Silver Corpse Sage King was not injured when he was slapped in the face by Lin Xian and the others. However, things were different now that the Peerless Sage King had attacked. The sword seemed to be able to split the heavens and the earth as it split the Silver Corpse Sage King's body apart. Fresh blood dyed the array red. "Damn it!" The Great Desolate Mansion's Sage King roared. The Peerless Sage King attacked again. Another sword slashed towards the Soaring Sage King and chopped his head off. The Soaring Sage King roared crazily. At the same time, the Bus Sage King, the Wuxia Sage King, and the others attacked as well. After all, both sides were enemies. If they did not attack now, these people would attack them in the future. "Damn it, how dare you!" The Great Desolate Mansion's Sage King's face changed drastically. He roared and waved his hand. Countless desolation swords flew out and formed an array to block all the attacks. The other person also used a terrifying force to block the attacks. Although there were only two of them, the old Sage King from the Great Desolate Mansion was obviously very strong. Hence, he was not at a disadvantage. He waved his scepter and took out two weapons at the same time. He threw them downwards. Instantly, the two weapons split apart. When the Peerless Sage King and the others saw this, their faces changed drastically. "Not good. Retreat quickly." These two weapons were the replicas of the Sage King's weapons. They were extremely terrifying. Now that they had split apart, the power was too strong. The heavens and earth were falling apart. At the same time, the array was affected. The four Sage Kings who were trapped by the array had a cold look in their eyes. "Everyone, if you don't attack now, you won't have a chance." They roared angrily as their bodies split apart. It was obvious that these people were going all out. Otherwise, they would be trapped here for the rest of their lives. The four Sage Kings attacked in a frenzy. The power was absolutely terrifying. Indeed, no matter how strong the four spiritual heaven lock array was, under such a terrifying attack, a crack appeared on it. Seizing this opportunity, the four Sage Kings quickly flew out. Finally, they managed to escape. Their faces were pale and they were in a sorry state. They had never suffered such a huge loss before. Previously, when they left the array, their bodies had split apart and they were severely injured. Even the Purple Moon Sage King's foundation was injured. After all, he had just broken through with the help of others. His foundation was not stable to begin with. Now his strength had been greatly damaged. After this battle, he would have to go into seclusion for a few hundred years to recover. This made his eyes filled with killing intent. "Damn it, it's all your fault. Today none of you shall leave." The Purple Moon Sage King was filled with killing intent. The Silver Corpse Sage King and the others also had cold expressions. Previously they had been slapped in the face by Lin Xian and the others. Then they were severely injured by the Peerless Sage King. They must repay this debt 100 times over. "Let's attack. It's time to end this." The Ghost Deity Sage King's voice was extremely cold. They had enough people on their side. They could fight 2 against 1. They did not believe that the 3 Sage Kings would be able to overturn the situation. What should they do? Lin Xian and the others also had cold expressions on their faces. The Peerless Sage King and the others said. It seemed like they could only retreat first. They did not expect so many Sage Kings to come. The Wuxia Sage King also said. Indeed, they should conserve their strength first. At least they should be able to save the Bus Sage King. Chapter 4390. Forget it, next time. Peerless Sage King sighed. The Sage Kings on the other side had already walked over, and the array around them was operating rapidly. Obviously, a huge battle was about to break out. Peerless Sage King unleashed a terrifying law of devour, enveloping everyone. The aura of the people on the other side was sealing the heavens and earth. A huge battle was about to break out. However, at that moment, an extremely terrifying roar sounded from beneath the ground. Following that, the heavens and earth cracked, and the array around them shattered once again. What happened? The Sage Kings felt a chill run down their spines. In the next moment, countless dark clouds appeared in the sky. Then terrifying thunder and lightning filled the sky. Lightning tribulation. And it was a Sage King tribulation. Damn it, was someone about to break through and become a Sage King? Countless people exclaimed. The people from Joyous Union Palace were also stunned, because they had only seen it once not long ago. It was when Purple Moon Sage King broke through. That time was extremely terrifying, and it was in the extraterritorial starry sky. Was the thunder going to fall directly on their Joyous Union Palace? Purple Moon Sage King and the others' faces changed, and even Peerless Sage King and the others were stunned. Then they looked at the ground. Lin Xian exclaimed. Was He Shan about to break through? No way, what did he get from below? Was he about to break through so quickly? The dark red sage dragon exclaimed too. They knew that although He Shan was powerful, he was only a Sage King. Although he was the remnant soul of the great sage, his strength had been weakened too much. Otherwise he would not have used a trap against the Sage Kings. But now he was about to break through and become a Sage King, which shocked everyone. They could not believe it. Damn it, stop him. Sage King Divine Ghost roared, and Sage King Silver Corpse's eyes turned red instantly. There was definitely a heaven-defying treasure below, but it was taken away by the other party. Kill. He roared, and the underworld scroll shot out. The other great Sage Kings also attacked. But there was nothing. An extremely terrifying aura appeared below, and then a thunder struck down from the sky, splitting all the superpowers. Countless people retreated. If they were enveloped by this kind of thunder tribulation, they would experience their own thunder tribulation. Therefore no one dared to approach. However, He Shan directly rushed out from below. His black robe danced in the wind, bringing with it an extremely terrifying aura. His eyes swept across the 9 heavens and 10 earths. He looked up to the sky and laughed heartily. The heavens have not forsaken me. Be you a holy king, thank you for the things in your Joyous Union Palace. In order to repay you, I will help you get rid of a peerless enemy. After saying that, he stared at Purple Moon Saint King. Purple Moon Saint King felt a chill down his spine. He then shouted angrily. You just broke through and you haven't even gone through the heavenly tribulation. You want to fight against me? However, He Shan did not say anything and directly rushed over. You're courting death. Purple Moon Saint King unleashed a purple moon and charged forward. However, He Shan quickly dodged it. Help me quickly. The thunder in the sky had already descended. Purple Moon Sage King did not dare to take it head-on and could only dodge quickly. At the same time he looked around for help. The Silver Corpse Holy King and the others naturally made their moves as well. However, whoever attacked Black Mountain would be attacked by Black Mountain. Thunder from the sky would strike down. The surrounding Holy Kings were so frightened that they only dared to dodge far away and attack from afar. At this moment, a blood-red lightning appeared in the sky and struck down. It sent Black Mountain flying. Cracks appeared on Black Mountain's body and even his black robes were torn apart. The others were also stunned. This was the heavenly punishment. They exclaimed. You're a person that cannot be tolerated by the heavens. They were really too shocked. Lin Xian was also shocked. He had experienced such a heavenly punishment before. Back then he was a person abandoned by the heavens. That was why he experienced it. Why did Black Mountain experience it too? You said that he was the remnant soul of the great sage. He must have been dead for tens of thousands of years. However, he did not want to enter the cycle of reincarnation and wanted to go against the heavens to be reborn. He even wanted to break through and return to his peak. This was originally a heaven-defying act. It was normal for it to attract the heavenly punishment. Lin Xian nodded after hearing that. Then he became nervous. Could he avoid such a heavenly punishment? Soaring Sky Saint King sneered. It's useless. Once the heavenly punishment comes, you will definitely die. Purple Moon Saint King also snorted. You want to fight against me? Maybe in your next life. Silver Corpse Saint King sighed. Such a shocking treasure was given to the other party. In the end, it attracted the heavenly punishment. What a waste. However, Black Mountain roared into the sky. My Dao, no one can stop me. Today I will go against the heavens and be reborn. After saying that, endless laws appeared on his body. It was extremely terrifying. Then the entire sky darkened. In an instant he appeared in front of Purple Moon Saint King. Purple Moon Saint King was shocked and subconsciously retreated. However, a pair of large hands in the sky covered her tightly. Damn it. Since she couldn't escape, she had to attack. She had to kill him before he broke through. Since you're a member of the heavenly punishment, why don't you go to hell? Purple Moon Saint King went all out. However, she realized that her attack was actually neutralized by Black Mountain. In the next moment, Black Mountain kept forming seals. Reverse Yin and Yang seal. Reincarnation of heaven and earth, sacrifice. A cold voice sounded between heaven and earth. Then endless laws gathered and formed a mysterious altar. It directly covered Purple Moon's Saint King. In the next moment, Black Mountain sat cross-legged in the sky and formed seals with his palms again. It was extremely mysterious. The surrounding Saint Kings wanted to attack. However, the old Saint King from the Great Baron Mansion narrowed his eyes. He kept retreating. He was originally a person who shouldn't exist. He wanted to go against the heavens. Damn it. Is he the legendary fortune defying the heavens? Stop him. Soaring Sky Saint King roared. However, the surrounding blood-red lightning had already struck down. No one dared to move forward. Everyone retreated to a faraway place. Regardless of whether it was Silver Corpse Saint King or Peerless Saint King, everyone retreated. The front had completely turned into nothingness. At this moment, the world was about to be destroyed. Fortunately, this world was very far away from the core of the Joyous Union Palace. Even if it was destroyed, its foundation would not be damaged. Just like that, they waited patiently in the center. 3 days later, the blood-red lightning slowly disappeared. Everyone looked at it with rapt attention. That guy should be dead. The people from Silver Corpse Saint King's side were shocked. As for Lin Xian and the rest, they were extremely nervous. In the next moment, they saw a figure standing there with his hands behind his back. His black robe was fluttering in the wind. It's Black Mountain. He's still alive. Lin Xian exclaimed. This is great. The North Demon also heaved a sigh of relief. Peerless Saint King and the rest laughed. Silver Corpse Saint King and the rest narrowed their eyes. How could this be? Heavenly punishment was even more terrifying than the heavenly tribulation. Anyone who encountered it would definitely die. However, Black Mountain was still alive. Chapter 4391. The old Sage King of the Great Desolate Mansion looked solemn. He had used a legendary secret skill to seize the opportunity. What? Everyone was shocked. Then they realized that where was Purple Moon Saint King? Could it be that he had already fallen? Everyone looked over and saw that Purple Moon Sage King had disappeared. Black Mountain said, "He's dead. I've avenged you." These words were directed at Bus Sage King. Bus Sage King was also shocked. Even he could not understand what had happened. However, he still cupped his fists and thanked Black Mountain. Thank you for your help. Damn it. Not only did Black Mountain make a breakthrough, he even seized the opportunity. Silver Corpse Sage King's face was cold. The old Sage King of the Great Desolate Mansion gritted his teeth. Who are you? Black Mountain glanced at him and said coldly, "Me. I'm afraid you don't have the right to know." Presumptuous. The mysterious man snorted. Black Mountain sneered. When I dominated the world, your grandfather wasn't even born yet. How dare you talk to me like that? When Black Mountain said that, Peerless Sage King and the rest had a strange look on their faces. Silver Corpse Sage King and the rest were furious. You're asking for it. Since you dared to set up a trap for us, you'll die today. The Divine Ghost Sword Sage also walked out. So what if you've escaped the heavenly punishment? Can you escape from our joint attack? I'd like to see what makes you think you can say that. The old Sage King of the Great Desolate Mansion also walked out. It looked like these people wanted to attack Black Mountain together. Do you think you can fight with me with just your strength? Black Mountain stood there looking down at the world with disdain. Silver Corpse Sage King and the rest gritted their teeth when they saw this. Damn it. Why are you pretending? Didn't you just become a Sage King? They were all experienced experts. Moreover, there was an old Sage King of the Great Desolate Mansion. Their strength was far stronger than anyone else. They did not believe that they could not defeat Black Mountain. So what if Peerless Sage King and the rest attacked? Peerless Sage King and the rest naturally would not sit back and watch. Hence they walked out and stared ahead. Silver Corpse Sage King said coldly, "Let me see what makes you so arrogant." With a clang, the Underworld Gourd spat out an Underworld Sword. The sword was extremely terrifying. It was like the Underworld Sword had descended and destroyed everything. The terrifying sword chi slashed towards Black Mountain. However, Heishan didn't care at all. With a sway of his body, he seemed to have merged into the void and instantly dodged the sword. Then he stretched out his hand and grabbed at the void. Immediately, countless laws condensed in the space and completely sealed the sword chi. The Saint King's expressions changed when they saw that. How was that possible? How could Lin Fan fight against the Silver Corpse Saint King so easily? One had to know that the Silver Corpse Saint King was a veteran Saint King. His opponent had just become a Saint King. Was there no difference between the two of them? Damn it. The Silver Corpse Saint King roared and formed a seal with his palms, forming the Yellow Spring Great Array. A cold and gloomy aura swept out in all directions, as if it wanted to take away everyone's life force. Even Peerless Saint King and the others frowned when they saw this. It must be said that his opponent's spirit formation was extremely terrifying. Liyue Saint King took a few steps back. After all, she had been injured before and had not fully recovered. She could not withstand the cold aura at all. Let's see how you're going to fight this time. The Silver Corpse Saint King sneered. Skysore Saint King and the others also looked cold. In their opinion, Lin Fan was definitely going to die this time. He Shan looked around and sneered. How dare you use a spirit formation in front of me? You're really courting death. Your array formation is nothing more than an insignificant skill. After saying that, he disappeared in an instant. When he reappeared, he was already outside the Great Formation. How was that possible? The surrounding people were all stunned. The Saint Kings also narrowed their eyes. Damn it. How did he get out? The Silver Corpse Saint King's face turned ugly and his eyes widened. Damn it. In the next moment, he formed a seal with his palms, forming a yellow spring seal and slammed it forward. Could it be that you know how to use a spatial array? So what? In his opinion, Lin Fan must have used a spatial array to break out of the formation so quickly. However, he was not afraid. At this moment, He Shan also made his move. He slammed his palm forward and it covered the sky. The 9 heavens collapsed and the stars were destroyed. Boom. The terrifying palm collided with the yellow spring seal and an earth-shattering sound rang out. Countless cracks spread out and the yellow spring seal shattered. The Silver Corpse Saint King was forced back and one of his arms was instantly shattered. The surrounding people were all stunned. Everything had happened too quickly. By the time they reacted, the Silver Corpse Saint King had already vomited blood and was sent flying. How was that possible? The surrounding people were stunned. Wasn't this guy too strong? Was he really someone who had just become a Saint King? The Silver Corpse Saint King roared to the sky. His body was filled with killing intent as he charged forward again. The power in his body seemed to be able to split the sky and earth apart as he exploded with unparalleled killing intent. However, He Shan only sneered. He stretched out his palm again and it seemed to pass through the endless void. His palm slammed onto the Silver Corpse Saint King's face. He was sent flying. The Saint King spun in the sky like a kite with a broken string. His face was smashed. I've said it before. You're not my match. Let your father, Saint King Yanling, come. He Shan stood with his hands behind his back and said proudly. On the opposite side, Saint King Fei Tian, Saint King Divine Ghost, and the others were shocked. Even Saint King Wang Kunlun and the others gasped. This person was so strong that it defied the heavens. Lin Xian and the others were even more shocked. Was this He Shan's strength? As expected of the remnant soul of the great sage. He had just become a Saint King and could already beat up other Saint Kings? Lin Xian clenched his fists. He did not know how strong He Shan would be after becoming a Saint King. The scene was terrifyingly silent. The Silver Corpse Saint King and the others were originally full of confidence. They had enough strength to suppress the Divine King and the others. But now, the Peerless Saint King and the others had not even made a move. He Shan alone was enough to stun them. Damn it. The Silver Corpse Saint King flew back with bloodshot eyes. His body was filled with killing intent as he wanted to attack again. This time he was going to go all out. As a Saint King, how could he not be angry after being slapped in the face one after another? However, at this moment, the old Saint King from Bumblebee waved his hand and stopped him. Don't act rashly. This person is very strange. Let me test his strength. As he spoke, he walked out and waved his walking stick in the air. Suddenly, the stars in the sky shattered. Saint King stage. The Peerless Saint King and the others took a deep breath as their expressions became serious. It was obvious that the old Saint King was a stage higher than them. Most of the Saint Kings were early Saint Kings, but the old man was a Saint King. The difference in strength between them was like heaven and earth. Chapter 4392. Soaring Sky Sage King and the rest snorted. Even Lin Xian and the rest became nervous again. Boom. The old Sage King of the Great Desolate Mansion made his move. His walking stick seemed to have turned into a peerless divine sword as it pierced forward. In an instant it arrived before He Shan. However, He Shan waved his hand and endless laws gathered, forming a terrifying vortex that instantly enveloped the sword. It was as if the sword had pierced into the sea. The boundless power was swallowed up by it. He Shan formed a seal with his palms and an endless array flew out from his hands, spreading out in all directions. The great spiritual lock array below was activated by him, and endless chains flew towards the old Sage King. The old Sage King was originally full of confidence. but when he saw the great spiritual lock array, his scalp went numb. He quickly retreated, no longer as confident as before. The expressions of the other Saint Kings also changed greatly. Damn it, can he still control the array? Why did he retreat without a fight? I've said it before. When I dominated the world, your grandfather wasn't even born yet. Do you believe me now? Damn it. Those sage kings were so angry that they vomited blood, but no one dared to make a move. Even the old sage king said that they should leave first. This guy was too strange. He could control the great spiritual lock array. If he sealed it, it would be difficult to escape. Damn it, Silver Corpse Sage King and the rest were biting. The great advantage they had was now gone. Not only was Purple Moon Sage King killed, but the joyous Union Palace was no longer under their control. Moreover, they had been slapped in the face. They must take revenge. Let's go. Silver Corpse Sage King waved his hand and the few of them slowly disappeared. At this moment, Peerless Sage King and Kunlun Sage King attacked. The two of them attacked the same person, the mysterious person who was covered in light. The mysterious person did not expect the two great Sage Kings to attack together. He could only retreat quickly. The old Sage King roared and slashed Kunlun Mountain. However, the devouring vortex flew out and enveloped the mysterious person's light. The light was torn apart. The mysterious person was shocked and then disappeared. Although it was only for a moment, they saw Peerless Sage King. Then they were all dumbfounded. It really was the desolate Heaven Sage King. Wasn't he killed? Lin Xian and the others were also surprised. Peerless Saint King said coldly. He did not have the ability to come back from the dead. He was not dead at all. As expected, they were in cahoots with the human world. The appearance of Sacred King Huang Tian caused everyone's expression to turn grave. The people who were originally dead had reappeared. In that case, other than the desolate Heaven Holy King, were the others still alive? Their faces were cold. These people were too arrogant. It seemed that it was time to take action against them. Peerless Saint King's eyes were filled with killing intent. He would leave the rest to Bua Saint King. After Purple Moon Saint King was killed, the people from Hehuan Palace no longer dared to resist and all of them surrendered. Those capable generals under the Purple Moon Saint King were all suppressed. Their hearts and souls were destroyed. For a moment, the joyous Union Palace was once again under his control. On the other side, Peerless Sage King and the others had also begun to discuss their plans to attack the Great Barren Mansion. Since they had already confirmed that the Great Desolation Mansion was related to the human world, how could they hold back? Of course, this matter had to be well prepared. Lin Xian and the others also took the time to cultivate. They adjusted their strength to the peak and were ready to strike at any time. At the same time, the battle scenes that Peerless Saint King had recorded using the array were also spread out. It spread throughout the second astral realm. When the people in the second astral realm saw it, they were stunned. Oh my God, what is this? The great Sage King had been slapped in the face. They felt as if they were in a dream. Who did it? Was it Lin Xian? He was really daring. They did not know the others, but they should be sacred venerables. A group of sacred venerables had slapped a sacred king's face. This was the first time something like this had happened since the beginning of time. Therefore, everyone was in an uproar. All sorts of discussions broke out. When the sacred kings heard the news, they were so angry that they vomited blood and sent people out to suppress them. At the same time, Fu Hongye, Linghu Chueshue, and the others were transported over. They took a deep breath. They knew that Peerless City was going to take revenge. Previously, Acheron Palace, Great Desolate Mansion, and Demon City had joined forces to seal Peerless City. They had already taken action against Acheron Palace. This time, they were going to take action against Great Desolate Mansion and destroy it completely. Soon, Lin Xian met up with Linghu Chueshue and the others and came to Joyous Union Palace. Everyone gathered and waited for Peerless Saint King's news. Lin Xian originally wanted to contact Peerless Saint King and ask Chao Tianxing to come over. He wanted to spar with Peerless Saint King. However, he found out that Chao Tianxing was still in True Spirit World and was constantly visiting sacred grounds. He had even entered some legendary places. This caused Lin Xian to be astonished. It seemed that this fellow was not simple at all. Finally, Peerless Saint King returned. His eyes were filled with coldness. Then he said, "Follow me to take revenge." Lin Xian and the others stood up. Their eyes were filled with coldness. This time, only Peerless Saint King came personally. The other Saint Kings did not appear. However, Lin Xian knew that the other Saint Kings were following them secretly, ready to strike at any time. After all, they were going to attack a sacred city. It was reasonable for Peerless City to go in the name of revenge. Great Desolate Mansion would definitely call for others. At that time, the hidden Saint Kings would appear again. Peerless Saint King Lin Xian and the others quickly moved out. The entire second astral realm was shaken again. This time they did not hide their auras. Terrifying killing intent and the wrath of a Saint King swept across the 9 heavens. Finally they came to the front. The great desolate mansion was right in front of them. Peerless Saint King roared and slashed forward with his sword. Suddenly, a world in joyous union palace was split open. The disciples inside were all turned into blood mist. Terrifying auras spread out in all directions. Everyone in the second astral realm went crazy. Heavens, the wrath of a Saint King was so terrifying. When the people of Great Desolate Mansion received the news, their eyes turned red. Damn it, who is it? Do they want to die? Countless experts and elders flew out one after another. One of the elders swept his gaze across all directions. He was a late-stage Saint Venerate expert. He roared, "Who dares to attack my Great Desolate Mansion? Get over here and die." However, what answered him was an ice-cold sword light that directly slashed him into a bloody mist. The other elders felt their scalps go numb. They were facing a formidable enemy. Damn it, the aura of a Saint King. The Saint King had struck. In the next moment they saw a group of people descending from the sky. They brought with them supreme Tao, causing the sky to rumble and the earth to tremble. It was as if thousands of soldiers and horses had descended. Chapter 4393. The martial artists of the Great Desolate Mansion who controlled the world raised their heads in fear. When the elders saw this scene, their pupils abruptly shrank. Unparalleled Sage King and the people from Wuxia City. Damn it, they actually came? Unparalleled Sage King, how dare you behave so atrociously in the Great Desolate Mansion? This is against the rules. Another elder walked out and gritted his teeth. However, Unparalleled Sage King waved his sleeve and the elder turned into a bloody mist. He said coldly, "Who do you think you are? How dare you lecture me? Get your Sage King out." Damn it. When the surrounding Sage Venerables saw this, they roared in anger. They gritted their teeth so hard that they almost broke. Some of the Sage Venerables' elders were even more furious. Unparalleled Sage King frowned. A bunch of ants dared to behave atrociously in front of him. When he looked at the 6 elders, they instantly turned into a bloody mist. The people from the Great Desolate Mansion were in despair. He was too powerful. Although the elders were also powerful experts, they were like ants in front of the Sage King. They could not even withstand a glance from the Sage King. No one dared to be arrogant anymore. Shouting in front of the Sage King was a dead end. At this moment, a cold snort sounded between heaven and earth. Then an old man walked out on the main road. He held onto his walking stick and his aura was icy cold. When the people from the Great Desolate Mansion saw this, they became excited. They all knelt down and bowed. "Old Ancestor. Great, the Old Ancestor is here." The elders shouted, "Old Ancestor, please avenge us. Wuxia City is too arrogant." This old man was naturally the old Sage King of the Great Desolate Mansion. Suddenly, a cold aura shrouded the area. To be honest, he did not want to see Unparalleled Sage King and the others. When he thought of Unparalleled Sage King, he remembered what had happened. There was also the mysterious black-robed man. However, since the other party had already come, he could not sit back and do nothing. Instead, he asked coldly, "Unparalleled Sage King, why did you bring so many people here? What is it?" Unparalleled Sage King sneered. Previously, the Great Desolate Mansion, Acheron Hall, and Myriad Demon City joined forces to attack Wuxia City. Because of this, Wuxia City is still sealed. What do you think I'm doing? Since you dared to attack my holy city, then there's no need for your holy city to exist. Speaking of which, a fearsome sword chi swept across the area. The terrifying devouring law spread out for thousands of miles. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. As for the old holy king in front, he humphed coldly. "I'm afraid you don't have the qualifications. Call out the person behind you. This is just a grudge between the two of us in the Great Sage City. I won't ask for help. Do you think I'm afraid of you just because you're a veteran Saint King? Today I'll show you how powerful I am." The unparalleled Saint King body exuded an extremely terrifying aura. Of course, if you want to call for help, then don't blame me for being rude. Hearing this, the old Saint King smiled. He was most worried that the peerless Saint King would look for someone. However, at that moment, Chu Feng wanted to contend against him by himself. He was truly naive. This peerless Saint King was only at the initial stage of the Saint King realm. Although his devouring law was strange, so what? After all, he was a Saint King stage expert. It would be very easy for him to defeat his opponent. If it was possible, he could even kill his opponent today. Thinking of this, the old Saint King's eyes were filled with killing intent. Since you want to die, then don't blame me for being rude. Having said that, he waved his hand and a terrifying desolate aura formed a desolate blade and slashed forward. The blade seemed to be able to split the heavens and earth apart as it exploded with unparalleled power. The peerless Saint King also made his move. The devouring law and unparalleled sword flew out. A shocking battle broke out between the two of them. The old Saint King roared, "Do you dare to fight me?" He flew out of the region and fought in the 9 heavens. After all, this was the territory of the Great Desolate Mansion. If they fought on the ground, even if they won, the Great Desolate Mansion would not be able to withstand the power. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" The peerless Saint King sneered and rushed up to the 9 heavens. The two of them fought fiercely. Terrifying auras filled the air, causing everyone below to watch the battle nervously. The people of the Great Desolate Mansion surrounded Linghu Chueshue and the others, but they did not attack immediately. They were waiting for the outcome of the battle between the Saint Kings. When the time came, they would destroy the people of Peerless City. Linghu Chueshue and the others were also nervous. However, Lin Xian was not among them. At this moment, Lin Xian was not there. He was secretly moving. He and the dark red divine dragon carried the void beast skin and hid in the void. They were flying in the world controlled by the Great Desolate Mansion. Heishan was following behind them. This time, their goal was not to kill their enemies, but to find the traces of the Desolate Heaven Saint King. As long as they could find the Desolate Heaven Saint King, then the grudge between Peerless City and the Great Desolate Mansion would be resolved. At that time, they could prove that the Great Desolate Mansion was related to the human world. Then the other saint cities could make a move. The Divine Path sect could also enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. This was the ultimate goal of the Peerless Saint King and the others. "Kid, what do you think?" The dark red divine dragon asked as he controlled the void beast skin. Lin Xian fully activated his heavenly secret god eyes. His golden eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. "Don't worry. Not in this world. Go to another world." They instantly shuttled through the void. A single saint city controlled many worlds. Therefore they had to search for the Desolate Heaven Saint King one by one. Finally they found the Desolate Heaven Saint King in the 6th world. Lin Xian said, "I found the traces of the Desolate Heaven Saint King." This time he did not hide. I saw his face clearly. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and take action." The dark red divine dragon said anxiously. Lin Xian frowned. There was more than one Saint King's aura. Damn it. There were other Saint Kings in the Great Desolate Mansion. Lin Xian made a shocking discovery. He realized that there were 2 more Saint Kings hiding here. These 2 people were wearing masks even when they were not in danger. Black killing intent shrouded them. Obviously they were from the human world. In the distance, in a hidden palace, a masked man frowned. He looked into the void. Another person asked, "What's going on?" That person said, "I feel that someone is secretly observing us." "Who could be here?" "You're overthinking." "Impossible. My senses can't be wrong." "Desolate Heaven, isn't there a huge battle outside?" The Desolate Heaven Saint King's pupils shrank. His eyes were like thunder piercing through the void. "Damn it. Hurry up and take action." A black-clothed Saint King instantly disappeared. In the next moment he appeared near Lin Xian. Indeed, there was an aura. "Although I don't know who you are, you should hurry up and die." He held a mirror in one hand and slammed his other hand down. Chapter 4394. They had been discovered. The dark red divine dragon was shocked. Lin Xian sighed. A sage ruler was indeed much stronger than a sage venerate. None of the sage venerates had discovered them while they were flying. However, a sage ruler had easily discovered them. He did not dare to be careless and entered the great sage pagoda with the dark red divine dragon. With a loud boom, the great sage pagoda was sent flying. The sage ruler sneered. However, he soon frowned. Was it not broken? Could it be a sage ruler's weapon? He stretched out his palm and tried to grab it again. However, at this moment, another black-robed man appeared and slammed his palm towards him. Who was that? The sage ruler thought that it was his companion, but when he sensed that the aura was different, he felt a chill down his spine. It was Black Mountain who had attacked. His attack was filled with endless power and enveloped the other party. He was instantly sent flying, crashing through the endless void, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. What was going on? The Desolate Heaven Sage Ruler and the other black-robed man were shocked. Was there a Sage Ruler hiding here? Leave first. The Desolate Heaven Sage Ruler's body glowed brightly. He was wearing a suit of armor that covered his face. They could not let anyone discover that a human was here. Otherwise, the great desolate mansion would be in danger. The sage ruler was prepared to go over and stall for time. However, he did not know that the other party was looking for him. In the next moment he dashed out and asked coldly, "Sir, do you really want to become enemies with the great desolate mansion?" At that moment, Lin Xian walked out from the great sage pagoda and sneered. "Desolate heaven, stop pretending. I know it's you. You're still alive." "It's you?" The desolate heaven sage ruler's face turned cold. He looked ferocious. "Brat, how dare you come here? You're courting death. I'll send you to hell today." As he spoke he slapped out. "You're the one who's going to hell." Lin Xian sneered and quickly retreated. He used the void escape technique to appear and disappear unpredictably. At that moment Black Mountain also made his move. He stretched out a palm that was filled with the power of an array. It instantly enveloped desolate heaven sage ruler. Desolate sky Saint King's expression changed instantly. "Not good," he roared crazily, his power sweeping out in all directions. However, he was unable to tear apart the array formation. In the next moment, Heishan waved his hand and flew into the sky with the formation. Boom. When they arrived in the sky, Lin Xian's cold voice rang out once again. "Desolate heaven sage king, you're still alive. It seems that you are indeed related to the human world." His voice was like a clap of thunder that swept across all directions, causing the people of the great desolate mansion to be stunned. They all turned their heads to look, their faces filled with astonishment. In the sky, the expression of the old sacred king, who was fighting in the outer realm, changed. Damn it, he was clenching his teeth so hard that they were about to break. To be honest, the fact that he hadn't been able to suppress the other party until now had already shocked him. However, he did not expect that the other party's target was not him, but Sacred King Huang Tian. Peerless Saint King sneered. "Old man, let's see how your great desolate mansion will die this time." As he spoke, he quickly retreated and arrived beside Linghu Chueshue and the others to prevent the Great Desolation Mansion from attacking. Meanwhile, the old Saint King walked down, his expression cold and gloomy. Sacred King Huang Tian gritted his teeth. The black-robed man had appeared. The old Sacred King's eyes narrowed as he said coldly. Huang Tian was indeed still alive because he had cultivated a secret technique. That was why he was able to escape from the human world. However, that did not mean that he was related to the human world. Sacred King Huang Tian quickly explained. "Yes, that's right. The secret technique that I cultivated allowed me to escape. Can I do that?" Lin Xian sneered when he heard that. "You really have the cheek to say that. Those who were present were all sacred kings. How could you escape? What a joke. The human world didn't kill you. However, if you don't want to admit it, don't worry, we have evidence." As he spoke, Lin Xian's eyes shone with an extremely sharp radiance. This time Heishan attacked and shattered the heavens and earth. Soon a figure was pushed back again. This person was wearing a mask and exuded a murderous aura. He was a sacred king from the human world. Seeing this, Lin Xian sneered. "What else do you have to say now?" The old sacred king's expression changed. Damn it. He did not expect that even his secret would be discovered. In the next moment, his expression turned ferocious and the aura on his body became even more terrifying. At that moment, his head of white hair instantly changed. His old face returned to its youthful appearance. In the next moment, the old sacred king turned into a middle-aged man who looked like a god. Obviously, he had used a secret technique to forcefully restore his strength to its peak without caring about his lifespan in life. At the same time, his voice sounded. "So what if you found out? Today all of you will die." With a roar, the desolate heaven seal came crashing down. Sacred King Wushuang tried his best to block it, but he was still sent flying. However, he used a devouring vortex to protect Linghu Chueshue. Sacred King Wushuang spat out blood as he was sent flying. His expression was cold. As expected of someone of the older generation. When he went all out, he was indeed strong. However, is it possible for him to kill me? The old Sacred King did not say a word and attacked again. They shattered the formation and rescued the desolate heaven holy king. Sacred King Huang Tian did not hold back and attacked with all his might. He used the desolate summoning technique and summoned millions of figures in a huge canyon. The terrifying desolate chi was everywhere in the sky and on the ground, trying to devour everyone. At the same time, the space shattered and the two killing sacred kings of the mortal world appeared in the sky. At that moment, Sacred King Wushuang and the others were in extreme danger. An inescapable trap? So what? Sacred King Wushuang snorted and sent out a sword chi. Instantly the space around them shattered. Figures appeared one after another. Their terrifying auras suppressed the 9 heavens. Sacred King Baiyu, Sacred King Kunlun, and Wuji Sacred King were among them. Moreover, they were not the only ones. The people from the deity Dao Union had also appeared. Their expressions were unusually cold as they froze the area. The deity Dao Union. The old Sacred King's eyes narrowed. He thought that Sacred King Wushuang would call for Sacred King Kunlun and the others, but he was not afraid. However, he did not expect the people from the deity Dao Union to come as well. This time it was really troublesome. Scholar Immortal walked out and looked down. Great desolate mansion, how dare you? Since you have already submitted to the mortal world, you should disappear from this world. Next, we will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. Damn it. The old Sacred King's face was cold. The 2 assassins said, "We have already sent out the summoning array. Our people will come. Hold on for a while." At that moment, Scholar Immortal waved his hand in the sky. Instantly the assassins attacked. Sacred King Wushuang and the others attacked as well. A huge battle instantly broke out. Linghu Chueshue Fu Hongye and the other young disciples also attacked. They would not participate in the battle between the Sacred Kings. However, they would not miss the battle between the Sacred Sovereigns. Chapter 4395. Lin Xian and the Crimson Divine Dragon made their moves as well. In an instant, many people charged towards Lin Xian. If it weren't for Lin Xian, the great desolate mansion wouldn't be in such a passive position. Go to hell, kid. In an instant, 5 figures appeared in the void. They were the 5 elders who were at the pinnacle of the sacred venerables. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Boom. The 5 of them executed their ultimate techniques. Lin Xian let out a roar and unleashed the human ruler seal, sweeping out in all directions. Suddenly, an earth-shattering sound was heard. The 5 elders were pushed back, their faces full of shock. How could it be? How could Lin Xian be so strong? Damn it, this guy is almost invincible under the sacred ruler realm. Their faces turned cold. More and more people rushed over to attack. The dark red divine dragon also roared and charged out. Lin Xian executed the human ruler's seal. The mountain-embracing seal, invincible sword, and indestructible sword were executed consecutively. The sacred venerables fell in droves. They couldn't resist at all. Boom. When the desolate heaven's sacred ruler saw this, he attacked Lin Xian. Then he was sent flying. Lin Xian sensed the terrifying aura and quickly dodged. However, he couldn't dodge, so he took out the great destruction spear and blocked the attack. In the next moment, his face turned cold. Since you still want to kill me, don't blame me for being impolite. Lin Xian directly used the great destruction spear. Originally, he was invincible under the sacred ruler realm. Now that he took out the sacred ruler realm weapon, he was like a god of war. No one could stop him. Boom. When the attack landed, boundless demonic chi suppressed the surroundings. Geniuses fell in droves. The elders' eyes turned red. Stop him. Countless elders rushed over, but they couldn't even take a single attack. Under the attack, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Those elders were also destroyed. On the other side, Linghu Chueshue Fu Hongye and the other personal disciples were equally terrifying. The toad waved its claws and executed the divine toad fist. It was having a great time. Lin Xian single-handedly swept through all 4 directions. One world after another, no one could stop him. The battle between the sacred rulers was also very dangerous. Although there were 4 sacred rulers on the great desolate mansion's side, they couldn't stop him. In an instant, their bodies were destroyed. But at this moment, the sacred ruler Silver Corpse, the sacred ruler, and the sacred ruler of the demon city. Even the mortals killing sages had arrived. Terrifying murderous aura surged, carrying out a great confrontation with the divine Dao Gate. But this time, Peerless Saint King and the others were well prepared, so they had the advantage in numbers. Sacred Venerables' peak. Kill. The Holy Lord had completely lost his mind, and was now attacking madly. He summoned the Void Grand Canyon and used it as a weapon to sweep out in all directions. Sacred Ruler, as gods as the Destruction Void Sacred Ruler Pirables also attacked. Countless sword chi slashed at the desolate canyon. Boom. Desolate canyons filled the air, as if they were real canyons that had transcended time and space. Killing intent surged in the surroundings. It was surrounded by mountains of corpses and a sea of blood. It was a terrifying scene. But at this moment, another figure disappeared. When he reappeared, he was behind Sacred Ruler Pirables. It was a killing sage from the mortal world. He was very powerful and unpredictable. He stabbed the killing sword in his hand at Sacred Ruler Pyrables. A devouring vortex appeared behind Sacred Ruler Pyrables and blocked the sword. At the same time, Scholar Immortal attacked from the sky. The sky was instantly covered in ice. Frost appeared on the killing sage's body. The killing sage retreated quickly, but he was sent flying by Kunlun Mountain. This battle was very terrifying. The surrounding void shattered. Even if the sages below weren't killed by Lin Xian and the others, they were torn to pieces by the Sacred Ruler's aura and turned into a bloody mist. Sacred Ruler, Divine Ghost was powerful. He swept his sword. It was a sword of the heavens that crushed the 9 heavens. With one sword, heaven and earth were shattered. The scene was too terrifying. It was as if the 9 heavens had turned into a peerless divine sword that crushed everything. The phantom of Kunlun Mountain was split open by the sword. Sacred Ruler Kunlun was also sent flying, his face pale. One had to admit that the sword techniques of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were unparalleled. This divine sword could be called the Sword Realm. Tens of thousands of sword chi slashed in all directions. At this moment, a huge sword Dao world pressed down from the sky. Not only did it attack the Sacred Rulers, but it also attacked Lin Xian and the others. In just an instant, heaven and earth were pierced and shattered. It was too terrifying. Lin Xian and the others also dodged quickly, their faces pale. At the same time, Sacred Ruler Wuji roared at the sky. Heaven and earth trembled and the stars dimmed. He attacked Sacred Ruler Soaring Sky. The terrifying Wuji laws kept surging. Sacred Ruler Soaring Sky had transformed into his true form. His true form was a flying mantis. He waved his 2 blades. He shot out a sky full of blade light to fight against his opponent. These Sacred Rulers all had their own unique laws and abilities. They were very terrifying. Bust. Sacred Ruler Silver Corpse roared. He formed a seal with his palms and directly shot out a bronze coffin. There was a corpse inside. Only half of the corpse was left, but it was pitch black. It was very strange. As soon as he appeared, a terrifying aura spread in all directions. Seeing this scene, Scholar Immortal roared. Not good, everyone be careful. This is the Great Sage Corpse Poison. The Great Sage Corpse Poison? Sacred Ruler Kunlun, Sacred Ruler Closing Moon, and the others' expressions changed when they heard this. They had been poisoned by this poison before, but the other party still had such a terrifying poison. In an instant, they frantically used their laws to form layers of defense to resist. Immortal Scholar roared angrily and unleashed a terrifying ice attack. Frost danced between heaven and earth. The entire world had been sealed in ice, but the Great Sage Corpse Poison was indeed extremely bizarre. In this land of frost, it could still be used slowly. From the looks of it, it could threaten the life of any Sacred Ruler. Sacred Ruler Silver Corpse laughed when he saw this scene. It's useless. You're all dead. If this was the Great Sage Corpse Poison, how could a Sacred Ruler block it when it was related to the Great Sage? Sacred Ruler Wushuang and the others frowned. Even the deity Dao Union's people had cold expressions. They didn't expect them to have such a thing. At this moment, a figure walked out and said, "Let's use that thing." After he finished speaking, he began to form seals with his hands. Suddenly, a formation was formed, and a blue bead was summoned out of the formation. It was like a blue sun shining in all directions. Pearl of Purification. It was also a terrifying weapon of a Sacred Ruler. It specialized in purifying all poisons. The appearance of the Pearl of Purification caused the Great Sage Corpse Poison to slow down. However, Sacred Ruler Silver Corpse snorted coldly. He held the bronze coffin and charged forward. The half-corpse inside emitted an even more terrifying aura. Even the Pearl of Purification couldn't block it. Chapter 4396. The thing in his hand should be the corpse of the Great Sage. This was an unparalleled treasure, but it was refined into corpse poison by the other party. It seemed that he had to take out the Great Sage's item. At this moment, the unparalleled Sage King said that there was still a chance. "Everyone give me your power. Have a way." The Sage Kings released their power, and the devouring vortex devoured their power. Then he transmitted his voice, "Junior brother, use the Great Dragon Sword." Lin Xian nodded. The vortex came behind him. Feeling the terrifying power, he instantly struck out a dragon-shaped sword shadow. Suddenly, it turned into a dragon's head and swallowed the power in the vortex. The Great Dragon Sword soul burst out, releasing a peerless sword light. At this moment, the world became dark. The Divine Ghost Sword King's body also trembled. His firmament sword was so powerful before, sweeping across an area with an invincible aura. But now, in front of the dragon sword, it lost its brilliance. What is that? The divine ghost sword king looked at the sword chi between heaven and earth, and his eyes instantly turned red. As a peerless sage sword, such a treasure made him go crazy. He quickly charged over with the firmament sword, wanting to snatch the sword shadow. But at this moment Lin Xian waved his arm. The dragon sword intent descended, and the firmament sword was directly sent flying. The divine ghost sword king had one of his arms cut off. He returned in a sorry state, and his eyes were filled with fear. Damn it, it's that kid. They all stared at Lin Xian. The sage kings were stunned. How could a young man have such a terrifying treasure? Could even injure a sage king. Damn it. Kill him quickly. The sage king's eyes emitted a biting cold killing intent. The silver corpse holy king unleashed his great sage corpse poison, transforming into a giant black dragon that lunged forward with bared fangs and claws. Under the great sage's corpse poison, everything would be turned into ashes. Lin Xian used the great sword soul. Invincible form. It swept through everything. A terrifying dragon-shaped sword chi flew out and turned into a world of sword Dao, suppressing the entire world. When the black storm encountered the dragon-shaped sword aura, it let out an earth-shaking sound. Then it quickly dissipated. The Saint Kings were also stunned. They didn't dare believe it. That was the corpse poison of the great sage, and it was actually blocked by the other party? Furthermore, he had destroyed it. What kind of swordsmanship was this? Great, it's working. The Kunlun Sacred King and the others smiled as they heaved a sigh of relief. This was because what they were most worried about was the great sage's corpse poison. Once it was unleashed, no one would be able to withstand it. But now, things were different. On their side, if they could block the great sage's corpse poison, then they would be able to sweep through everything. Sure enough, these people once again channeled their energy into the great dragon sword spirit. The sword spirit destroyed everything and split the black storm apart. After that, Lin Xian controlled the great dragon sword soul and charged towards the bronze coffin. How could it be like this? The silver corpse holy king and the others' expressions became ugly. They roared. It had to be a coincidence. Kill. They also controlled the bronze coffin and charged over quickly. The two of them clashed in the sky. The great dragon sword soul had completely suppressed the corpse poison of the great sage, making it unable to threaten the other Saint Kings. When the immortal scholar saw this scene, he led the people of the deity Dao Union and quickly attacked. They swept through the sky. They already had the advantage. Now that they had nothing to worry about, they were even more powerful. In an instant, a few Saint Kings from the mortal world fell. The silver corpse holy king and the others were also forced to retreat. Below them, Linghu Chueshue and the others were even more powerful. They swept through the sky. None of the elders, experts, or geniuses of the great desolate mansion could escape. In the end, the people of the mortal world had to retreat. The silver corpse holy king felt his scalp go numb. He roared and retreated quickly. No, what about the saint city? The desolate heaven holy king roared. This was their saint city. If they retreated, the great desolate mansion would cease to exist. Boom. At that moment, a fist landed on his body, breaking him apart. At the same time, the flood dragon scissors in the sky sliced his blood mist apart. The desolate heaven holy king was scared out of his wits. He did not dare to stay any longer. If they were destroyed, so be it. As long as they were alive, they could rebuild the saint city. At this thought, the Saint Kings retreated. You want to leave? The immortal scholar finally used the indestructible cold sky array. The terrifying array formation suppressed the surroundings. As the desolate heaven holy king had retreated too late, he was instantly sealed in ice. When the old Saint King saw this, he roared crazily. He attacked with unparalleled power. However, when he sensed the icy aura, he did not dare to get close. He could only attack from afar. The monstrous power was like one peerless sword light after another, sweeping through everything. However, it was useless. The peerless Saint King and the others came forward and looked at the frozen desolate heaven holy king. You didn't expect this, did you? Go to hell. The peerless Saint King slashed out with his sword and split the desolate heaven holy king apart. Then he used the devouring law to destroy the desolate heaven holy king's soul. The desolate heaven holy king roared crazily. Damn it, I'll fight it out with you. He wanted to die together with his enemies. However, he could not do so in the array. In the end, he was killed by the peerless Saint King and the others. His heart and soul were destroyed. Is he dead? Their Saint King has fallen. The people of the great desolate mansion who were still resisting were dumbfounded when they saw this. They felt as if the sky had collapsed. It was at this time that more and more people fell. Damn it. Run. Let's save as many as we can. The old Saint King roared in the sky. Then, his eyes turned red as he stared at the peerless Saint King. One day I'll tear you to pieces. Boom. After saying that, he turned around and left. At this moment, a ray of light flashed and cut off one of his arms. An old man in plain clothes held a sickle in the sky. He looked like an ordinary old man, but his strength was extremely strong. He cut the old man in half with a single slash. Damn it, the old Saint King thought. He could feel his strength slipping away. After all, he did not have much lifespan left. At this moment he was desperate to recover to his peak. After such a long battle he had used up a lot of his strength. If he continued fighting he would not have any strength left. At that time, even if these people did not kill him, his heart and soul would be destroyed. Therefore he roared and tore open the void to escape quickly. These people chased after him crazily. The people of the deity Dao Union were even more aggressive. In the end, 2 more mortal realm-killing sages fell. Even the Silver Corpse Holy King's body was destroyed. The Flying Sky Holy King and the Divine Ghost Holy King were also injured. However, in the end, they used the great sage's corpse to escape quickly. The peerless Saint King and the people of the deity Dao Union returned. They arrived at the Great Desolate Mansion. The experts of the Great Desolate Mansion had been killed. The remaining people could not resist at all. They were all kneeling on the ground. The peerless Saint King used the devouring law. It floated between heaven and earth and covered the entire Great Desolate Mansion. Then he said, "Don't be a member of the Great Desolate Mansion in your next life. Reincarnate." With that, he waved his hand and swallowed the entire Great Desolate Mansion. Chapter 4397. The second astral realm was in an uproar. The destruction of a saint city was too shocking. It could be said that it had swept across the entire astral realm. Countless warriors were talking about this matter everywhere. Peerless City was too strong. They had been sealed by the 3 great sage cities, and now they had destroyed a saint city. He was going to take his revenge. Someone exclaimed. Someone else said, "No, I heard that it wasn't just for revenge. There were other reasons." The Great Desolate Mansion Saint King was actually a member of the world of men. That was why so many saint cities had attacked them. The world of men. That ancient and legendary Shasho Palace? Many people were shocked. That was an extremely terrifying existence. No wonder the Great Desolate Mansion was destroyed. What would happen to the other saint cities? Everyone was stunned. At the same time, the other saint cities were also in an uproar. People like Thousand Demon City and Thousand Swords Pavilion were also shocked. Soaring Sky Saint King and Divine Ghost Saint King immediately gathered a group of experts after returning. They brought along some of the top geniuses and experts with them. The others were all sealed. They had chosen the same method as Peerless City, which was to seal the entire Saint City and survive this crisis. Thousand Demon City did the same. 2 great sage cities were sealed and disappeared into the void, which caused many people to exclaim. It seemed like the 2 great sage cities had bowed their heads and were sealed. Everyone's gaze fell on Acheron Palace. After all, Acheron Palace was in charge of this matter. What should Acheron Palace do? Should they gather their forces and launch a counterattack, or should they seal it? Silver Corpse Saint King clenched his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. He was so angry that he vomited blood. To be honest, he wanted to gather these Saint Kings and bring the world of men back. However, on this day, Spirit Saint King Yin sent a message to True Spirit World, asking him to seal the Saint City and bring people to True Spirit World. Damn it, let those people be arrogant for a while. One day the second astral realm would be ours. Silver Corpse Saint King also brought a few geniuses and sealed the Saint City. Then they headed to True Spirit World. On the other side, Peerless Saint King and the others had gathered together to discuss what to do next. The deity Dao Union's people left again, hiding in the world. As for the other Saint Kings, after discussing with each other, they decided to put up the strongest defense for the holy city before taking their disciples to the True Spirit World. After all, the day of opening the seal was very close. They had to hurry over and send these geniuses to the buried Emperor Star. True Spirit World. As more and more geniuses appeared one after another, the martial path of the True Spirit World flourished once again. Right now, they are talking about the geniuses that came from the buried Emperor Star. That Han Chong was too terrifying. Earlier, he had challenged an expert of the older generation and had actually won within 10 moves. It was unknown what level his true strength had reached. That's right, other than Han Chong, that Hui Yu is also incomparably strong. This person's moonlight power seemed to be able to sweep through everything. It was even stronger than the Holy Lands. I've heard that there's an even more terrifying existence above them. She's like a fairy from the ninth heaven. It's said that even Han Chong has to be respectful when he sees her. What? There's such an existence? Where was that fairy? Exclamations of surprise could be heard. However, at this moment a person walked over and said, "The people you're talking about are very strong, but they're not invincible. As far as I know, these rising geniuses have also been defeated." What? These geniuses have been defeated? Impossible. The surrounding people were shocked. Some people also said, "That's right, who defeated them? Could it be the Yao Guang Holy Son? Or the Gu family's genius? Or perhaps the Yi family's expert?" There are also some peak geniuses in the true spirit world. However, it seems that these people haven't made a move yet. No, it's said that this person came from the second star realm. He's very strong and seems to have defeated Han Chong. What? Han Chong has been defeated? Impossible. Countless people exclaimed. In their opinion, Han Chong was an extremely peak expert. How could he have been defeated? Could it be Lin Xian? When someone mentioned this name, the others also exclaimed. This person is indeed very strong. However, that person did indeed say that it wasn't Lin Xian, but another person. He's called Chao Tianxing. Is it him? Countless people repeated this name over and over again. Their eyes flickered with astonishing light. It seems that another extremely terrifying expert is about to rise. To be able to defeat someone from the buried Emperor Star, this Chao Tianxing is definitely heaven-defying. Don't say any more, someone is coming. Hearing those words, everyone shut their mouths. That was because they discovered that there were a few figures walking over from the front. One of them was Han Chong. Their expressions became terrified. Han Chong's gaze was cold, and his body carried endless cold air, as if he was an ice god. After he arrived, he said, "Are you talking about Chao Tianxing?" The others were so scared that their scalps went numb. Han Qing did say, "If it's this person, then yes, I have indeed lost to him. He's very strong." Speaking of this, a trace of coldness appeared in Han Chong's eyes. After he arrived, he swept through everything. Apart from the monarch clans and some extremely powerful sacred grounds, he didn't challenge anyone. The others were simply no match for him. He didn't expect that he would be defeated by someone from the second star realm. However, he also knew that Chao Tianxing was indeed very strong. If he was given another chance, he probably wouldn't be able to defeat him. Who would have thought that the true spirit world would be so powerful? In the true world there are still experts. I feel that the holy daughter of the All Beginnings Holy Land is very powerful. Although I defeated her, it was only a narrow victory. Once those words were said, the surrounding people were astonished. Soon after, the people at the front mentioned the names of several other geniuses. As they stood there, they were all talking about the peak experts and geniuses of the world. However, their expressions were calm and composed. It was as if they controlled the world. At this moment, a blue-robed young man said, "The geniuses from the Void Land were also very strong. They were indeed worthy of attention." The surrounding people were puzzled. The Void Lands? To ordinary people this was very unfamiliar. However, to some peak experts their pupils fiercely shrank. That was the Immortal Guardian clan. Their strength was also mysterious and incomparably terrifying. However, right at this moment, a sneer was heard. "Speaking of the Void Lands, how come I heard that you were defeated by someone in the Void Lands?" What? Once those words were said, the surrounding people burst into an uproar. The people from the buried Emperor Star were defeated by someone? Heaven, who else could it be apart from Chao Tianxing? Could it be that it was Chao Tianxing? The blue-robed young man's expression immediately sank. This was his scar. Now, someone actually dared to expose his scar. Who was it? Chapter 4398. Who is it? Does he want to die? The blue-robed man roared angrily. His gaze swept across, tearing through the void. In the next moment he saw a man in battle armor opposite him, looking at him with a cold smile. Phew. The blue-robed man frowned, and the others also turned their heads to look. In the next moment they saw that in addition to the man in battle armor, there were a few other people with prominent horns. Their auras were extraordinary and they were walking over with large strides. Who were these people? Could it be that they came from the same place as Han Chong and the others? Otherwise they wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. The leader was a man in a cloud robe. His black hair fluttered and his aura was powerful. His entire person was abnormally mysterious, and he had a powerful aura. It seemed that he was also an expert. "Jingyin, is he here too?" The people on Han Chong's side exclaimed. The blue-robed man's expression darkened. He stared at the man in battle armor and gritted his teeth. Don't think that you can be arrogant in front of me just because you have Jingyun's support. You'd better take back what you said just now, or don't blame me for being impolite. The man in battle armor sneered. Impolite? Oh, I want to see how you're going to be impolite. I heard that you've lost to someone twice in a row. A piece of trash like you isn't qualified to compete with me. The aura between the two sides became cold. It seemed that a fight was about to break out if there was a disagreement. The surrounding people also exclaimed. It seemed that these people were indeed from the same place. Otherwise they wouldn't be so confrontational. More and more experts were appearing in their world. What? Are they going to fight in advance? At this moment another voice sounded. Countless people turned their heads to look. This time even Jingyun turned his head. His long and narrow eyes suddenly bloomed with a trace of a biting cold light. He saw that a few more figures were approaching. Walking at the very front was a woman. She wore a blood-red robe and had an extremely cold aura around her. She seemed to be even stronger than Han Chong. Xuelinglong, you're here too. Jingyun grinned. How was it? What did you gain during this period? Are there any opponents worthy of your attention in the true spirit world? After Xuelinglong heard this, she snorted coldly. What was there to pay attention to? How can the people here be compared to us? Too weak. Hearing this, the expressions of the surrounding people changed. Arrogant, really too arrogant. To think that he didn't place the entire true spirit world in his eyes. One had to know that the true spirit world was also an extremely terrifying existence with an extremely powerful foundation. Not only were there super powerful holy lands, but there were also ancient families. But now these people didn't even put him in their eyes. However, they soon sighed. That was because, during this period of time, those geniuses were no match for these people at all. Unless it was the Alcade Saint, an extremely mysterious and terrifying figure who made a move. Or perhaps, it would be a genius from a great emperor clan like Gu Feng. However, these people had yet to make a move. Even if these people could win, how many of them would there be? The vast majority of people were not a match for these people, so these people did indeed have the capital to be arrogant. These words were a little too much. The true spirit world was extraordinary. Although it was in a sealed state most of the time, it wasn't something that could be casually looked down upon. At least, the people from the ancient families couldn't be the slightest bit careless. In addition, there were also some people from the Holy Lands who were equally terrifying and mysterious. Someone spoke up for the true spirit world and the surrounding people turned their heads. In the next moment they saw a person with flickering runes all over his body walk out. This person had runes all over his body, and they combined together as if they were the 8 trigrams. He was holding a crystal ball in his hand. Inside the crystal ball were countless stars that flickered and disappeared. It looked extremely mysterious. Seeing this scene, Xuelinglong frowned. Zhang Suntians, do you know how annoying you are? Don't act as if you can control the world and calculate close to 10,000 worlds. In fact, you can't calculate anything at all. I've underestimated them. So what? Now, is there anyone who can block 3 of my moves? Xuelinglong was unusually domineering. Damn it. This is too much. Who's going to make a move? The people from the true spirit world gritted their teeth. However, no one dared to move forward. Xuelinglong sneered. See, I've already given them a lot of face by calling them trash. Such people are worse than trash. What qualifications do they have to be worthy of my attention? Xuelinglong became more and more arrogant, and the eyes of the people from the true spirit world turned red. Why weren't there experts here? Where was the Alcade Saint? Where was Gu Feng? Where were the Yi family's experts? Why didn't anyone come out? Lin Xin frowned as well. Weren't these people a little too arrogant? How hateful. Thinking of this, he used the 10 absolute sword formation to form a clone and walked out. Shut up. Do you really think there's no one in the true spirit world? Lin Xin's clone walked out with large strides, emitting a terrifying aura. The surrounding people were stunned. Someone really appeared. The people from the true spirit world were excited. Great, kill him. Suppress him. These people waved their fists. However, some people also frowned. Who is it? Is it the Alcade Saint? No, it's not the Alcade Saint, nor is it someone from the ancient families. Then who is it? The people from the buried Emperor Star also turned their heads. Does anyone dare to come out? Xuelinglong also had a look of disdain. Who are you? You dare to be arrogant in front of me? Are you tired of living? Hurry up and scram. What? Didn't you say that no one in this world could withstand 3 moves from you? Now that I've come out, you don't dare to attack? From what I see, you're the trash. You're the one who's worse than an ant. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous. When these words came out, the surrounding people became excited. However, the geniuses from the buried Emperor's Star frowned. Xue Linglong's expression sank. What did you say? Brat, say it again. Senior sister Linglong, an ant doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Why do you need to attack? I'll kill him. With just you? I don't attack nameless people. You should scram. Otherwise your end will be very miserable. Lin Xian's clone was also incomparably arrogant. He was infuriating the other party. You're courting death. That person's figure flashed and charged over. He condensed a long saber in his hand and swept it out. The saber light was biting cold, destroying everything. It was as if it could split the entire world. Too strong. The expressions of the surrounding people changed greatly. They had to admit that these people were indeed powerful. Any one of them would be able to sweep through the crowd. Perhaps no one present would be able to block this saber. Die. The saber wielder who attacked also had a sneer on his face. Chapter 4399. However, when Lin Xian's clone saw this scene, he remained unmoved. When the saber descended, he stretched out 2 fingers and gently grabbed at the sky. Soon he caught the saber. A clanging sound echoed. The saber was stopped in midair. Then Lin Xian's arm flew away. With a cracking sound, the saber shattered. As for that saber wielder, his body split in 2. Blood sprinkled down from the sky. Ah! A crazy roar echoed. The surrounding people were all stunned. What happened? That saber wielder roared and the 2 halves of his body quickly retreated. However, Lin Xian slapped out with his palm and turned that broken body into a bloody mist. Sword chi filled the sky and destroyed that saber wielder's soul. Dead. Everyone was stunned. Even the people from the buried Emperor's Star were stunned. What's going on? His opponent actually killed one of their people. Do you want to die? Xue Linglong roared. The people behind him pulled out their swords and sabers and stepped forward. They firmly locked onto Lin Xian. Kid, obediently kneel down and accept your death. You dared to kill our companion. No one in the heavens or the earth can save you. A series of furious roars could be heard. On the other side, Han Chong, Jingyun and the others frowned. Their gazes locked onto Lin Xian's clone. They wanted to completely see through him. However, they discovered that his body was enveloped by an extremely powerful great Dao and sword light. They were simply unable to see who he was. Faced with such a terrifying lineup, Lin Xian did not care at all. He sneered. What? You can't take it anymore? I gave him a chance to scram, but he didn't cherish it. Also, do you think I've gone too far? During this period of time, you've fought everywhere and killed many experts and geniuses of the true spirit world. Lin Xian's voice became ice cold. The others also clenched their fists. Indeed, these people from the buried Emperor's Star had held back at the beginning. However, recently all the geniuses and experts who had been defeated by them had been killed. It could be said that the number of geniuses of true spirit world that had died at his hands was innumerable. Now, Lin Xian was just using the same method to return the favor. Who do you think you are? How can you compare our lives? The men gnashed their teeth. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Are you trying to challenge me? As he said that, he struck out with his palm again. A stream of sword chi flew out from his palm and streaked across the sky. Courting death. That person was also a peerless swordsman. With a furious roar, sword chi danced in the air, and a terrifying sword Dao aura roared unceasingly. The laws of heaven and earth filled the air. However, in an instant he was pierced through. How could this be? How could his opponent's sword chi be so terrifying? The surrounding people also cried out in surprise. Who was this person? He was too strong. Killing people from the buried Emperor's Star was like squashing ants. This was really too inconceivable. One had to know that they came from the buried Emperor's Star. They were high and mighty gods while these people were ants. However, in front of this person their status seemed to have changed. This made it difficult for them to accept. All of you retreat. I will personally take care of him. Xue Linglong waved her hand. Immediately the surrounding people unwillingly retreated. However, their eyes were filled with sneers. With Xue Linglong making a move, the other party would undoubtedly die. Sure enough, Xue Linglong also walked forward. She looked at Lin Xian and said, "Your strength is not bad. You have exceeded our expectations. However, you are simply not my match. I will give you a chance to live. Obediently kneel down and kowtow to me as an apology. Furthermore, from today onwards, you will follow me and become my battle servant. I can spare your life. You are not qualified to say such words. Moreover, I feel that your vision is too low. Do you really think that you are high and mighty? I can only say that you have seen too few experts. Lin Xian's voice was ice cold. He was unmoved. However, Xue Linglong frowned. Very good. Kid, you have backbone. However, it is a pity that you are very stupid. Since you don't submit, then go to hell. From the looks of it, you should be a very terrifying sword saint. Since that is the case, I will let you fall in the strongest domain. I will let you experience my snow wind sword. Xue Linglong pulled out her sword. It was a sword made of ice. As soon as she appeared, the surrounding 9 heavens and 10 earths froze. The sword chi swayed and the boundless law of ice filled the surroundings. There were also wind laws in the surroundings. The snow wind sword was a terrifying sword technique formed by 2 types of laws. After 3 moves you will definitely die. With a slash of her sword, the snow wind sword technique erupted. The surroundings were completely enveloped by terrifying frost and storm bricks. The surrounding people frantically retreated. They did not dare to resist at all. Even the people of the buried Emperor Star retreated far away. Xue Linglong's snow wind sword was famous in the world. Perhaps no one could withstand 3 moves from her. With such a sword technique, you want to kill me in 3 moves? Ridiculous. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian laughed. The surrounding laws quickly condensed and formed a sword of laws in his hand. Then he slashed it forward. This sword was like a peerless immortal light. It collided with the snow wind sword in the sky. Immediately, the wind and clouds changed and heaven and earth shattered. After the collision, the 2 swords spun in the air at the same time. Xue Linglong frowned. Then she stabbed out with her sword. At this moment, all the sword chi in the world gathered on the tip of her sword and stabbed forward. At this moment, all the experts and geniuses felt their hair stand on end. However, Lin Xian was not afraid at all. Another sword strike blocked the other party's attack. 2 sword attacks. There was still a 3rd sword attack. Could Xue Linglong win? The surrounding people became nervous. They naturally hoped that Lin Xian would win. After all, this represented their true spirit world. As for the people of the buried Emperor Star, they were also frowning. Xue Linglong wouldn't be at a disadvantage, right? Han Chong shook his head. Impossible. Her ice laws are above mine. If you want her to be at a disadvantage, you will have to send a peak expert. Otherwise, only a sacred king would be able to do it. However, just as he finished speaking, his pupils shrank. Because after the 2 sword attacks, Lin Xian took a step forward. He laughed loudly and said, "Take a look at my sword technique." When the sword flew out, 10 types of laws danced between heaven and earth. This power was too terrifying. The sword chi slashed down as if it wanted to destroy heaven and earth. At this moment, the expressions of the people of the buried Emperor Star changed. The law of thunder, the law of fire, the law of wood. Damn it, there were so many laws. Who was this guy? They discovered that this sword attack seemed to contain many kinds of laws. How did he fuse them together so perfectly? Xue Linglong's pupils shrank. She had not even used her 3rd sword attack yet, but she had to face such a powerful attack. She had never thought that she would face danger. In a hurry, she could only quickly defend. There was very little sword chi, but it formed a powerful divine ability. Snow wind protection. A diagram of wind and snow circled around him, blocking the attack. Chapter 4400. The wind, snow, and frost that filled the sky seemed to want to freeze the sword chi. The 10 extinction swords fell, producing a sky-shaking sound. Everything between heaven and earth was enveloped by the light, and nothing could be seen. The surrounding people also continuously retreated. When the light in front of them disappeared, they looked over with rapt attention. Then they were shocked. The people of the buried Emperor Star were also shocked. They discovered that Xue Linglong had retreated, and the snow wind protection on her body had already shattered. Otherwise, there would be blood flowing out of her body, and a sword wound would appear on her arm. She had almost split him apart. Injured? Xue Linglong was actually injured? This was too inconceivable. Han Chong did not dare to believe it. On the other side, Jingyun's expression was also incomparably grave. It seemed that this time they had really encountered an expert. Chang Sun-Tian sighed. I already said that there were hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the true spirit world. Don't be careless. But you didn't listen. Now you've suffered. Shut up. Xue Linglong crazily roared. Then she turned her head, her eyes releasing biting cold killing intent. Kit, you've completely angered me. Today you'll definitely die. The aura on her body erupted once again, becoming even more terrifying than before. The snow wind sword in her hand seemed to have transformed into a snow wind dragon, dancing between heaven and earth. On the other side, Lin Xian stood proudly, not caring at all. However, at this moment Lin Xian's real body was startled. Because he heard a voice transmission. It was transmitted to him by Fu Hongye. It seemed that something was summoning him. Lin Xian took a deep breath and glanced at the battlefield in front of him. Then his body disappeared into the crowd. In front of him, Lin Xian's clone also said coldly, "Today I'll spare your life. You'd better not meet me in the future. Otherwise you'll definitely die." After saying that, Lin Xian's body gradually disappeared. "Want to leave? How is that possible? Go to hell." Shui Linglong furiously roared, and her sword chi slashed forward. Snow Wind Dragon. This was an extremely terrifying divine ability. The surroundings were completely destroyed in an instant. Many people were sent flying, vomiting blood. The expressions of the people from the buried Emperor Star changed greatly. Is this woman crazy? She actually used such a shocking move. However, before this sword could land, they saw Lin Xian's body turn into endless nomological laws and disappear into the sky. They were dumbfounded. Was this a law avatar? Shui Linglong was also stunned. Her sword stopped in midair, and her expression became extremely ugly. She was actually injured by a clone. Who was it? His gaze swept across the land. To him, this was simply a great humiliation. Slap his face. When the others learned of this, they all cried out in alarm. How could there be such a top expert in the true spirit world? Could a clone defeat a genius from the buried Emperor Star? How come I've never heard of it? Shui Linglong gritted her teeth. Find him and tear him to pieces. The geniuses of the buried Emperor Star all moved out. However, Lin Xian had already disappeared, so these people couldn't find him. This matter quickly spread out and shocked the world. In an instant, everyone was discussing who exactly it was. On the other side, Lin Xian left and flew into the distance. Soon he saw Fu Hongye standing there. Little martial ant Fu Hongye greeted him. Lin Xian asked, "What's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? Master seems to want to make a move against the 10,000 Swords Pavilion." Hearing this, Lin Xian was shocked. Make a move against the 10,000 Swords Pavilion? The 10,000 Swords Pavilion had already sealed the holy city. Moreover, the divine ghost Sacred King had brought some experts and geniuses to the true spirit world. If he guessed correctly, they should be together with the Silver Corpse Sacred King's people. Making a move at this time meant that the final battle was about to begin. I don't know the details, but senior brother Linghu told me that they had already found some of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion's elders and geniuses. He said that they could take revenge. Revenge? Lin Xian's eyes flickered and he nodded. It's time to take revenge. Previously, the Acheron Palace, the Great Desolate Mansion, and the 10,000 Swords Pavilion had joined forces to seal the Peerless City. Now that the Great Desolate Mansion had been destroyed, it was time to make the 10,000 Swords Pavilion pay the price. The two of them turned into lightning and left quickly. Eastern Wilderness. It was a place with a top-grade spiritual vein. The mountains here were like sharp swords standing on the ground, emitting a biting cold aura. There were also sword scars in the surroundings. It was clear that a great battle had taken place here in the past between sword cultivators. Many swordsmen wanted to come and comprehend it. At this moment there was a group of people here, but their faces were cold. These people were from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. The 10,000 Swords Pavilion had been sealed, but a group of experts and geniuses had walked out. They had followed the Sacred King to the true spirit world. At this moment, they had come together to comprehend the Sword Dao aura to improve themselves. However, they did not expect to meet the people from the Peerless City. Linghu Chueshue had brought the personal disciples of the Peerless City. After arriving, he stared ahead. You guys are really here. The faces of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion's people turned ugly. They knew that the Great Desolate Mansion had been destroyed, so they felt their scalps go numb when they saw the Peerless City. Were they going to attack them? However, when they saw that only Linghu Chueshue and the others were there, the elders of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion in front of them snorted coldly. You dare to come here with just the likes of you? Aren't you afraid of going to hell? You want us to go to hell? Who gave you the courage to say such words? A cold voice came from the sky. Then two figures descended. They were Lin Xian and Fu Hongye. Young martial uncle, you're here. Linghu Chueshue, Shangguan Shaoxian, and the others bowed when they saw Lin Xian. Lin Xian nodded and walked to the front. Are all the people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion here? He looked around. Linghu Chueshue said no, but more than half of them were here, so this was a good opportunity to attack. Lin Xian walked out and said coldly. The 10,000 Swords Pavilion used a sneak attack on Peerless City. It's time to pay it back. I'll give you a chance now. Kneel down and kowtow to us and admit your mistakes. If you do, we'll give you a quick death. Of course, you can choose to resist, but I can guarantee that you'll regret it later. The faces of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion's people turned cold when they heard what Lin Xian said. One of the elders snorted coldly. Kid, don't be too arrogant. There are only a few of us here. If we really fight, it's hard to say who will win if the sage rulers don't intervene. Is that so? Do you want to fight one-on-one or all of us? Just tell us. We'll keep you company anytime. Lin Xian sneered. Kid, aren't you arrogant? Do you dare to compete with us in swordsmanship? The elder waved his hand and 6 more figures walked out. Each of them carried an ancient sword on their back, and their sword chi was sharp. It seemed like they could tear everything apart. Chapter 44:01. As soon as they appeared, they stood in different directions, forming an extremely terrifying aura that swept across the surroundings. This mountain range was called Broken Sword Mountain, and countless sword experts were meditating there. Therefore, in addition to the people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion, there were also people from other mountains. At this moment they all looked over when they sensed the aura. In the next moment they exclaimed, "Is a battle about to break out?" When they saw those people forming a terrifying sword formation, their pupils constricted. This aura? It's a very powerful sword formation. Who are these people? One of them said. He heard that they were from the second astral realm and were all sword experts from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. The elder from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion also sneered. Kid, can you withstand our 6-pole sword formation? If you can't, get lost. Humph, how can a mere sword formation not be able to withstand it? Linghu Chueshua took a step forward, and a terrifying sword chi also rose from his body. Fu Hongye, Shengguan Shaoxian, and the others also walked out with terrifying auras. The battle was about to break out. However, Lin Xian said, "No, it's just a small sword formation. I don't need you guys to attack together. I'll be fine by myself." Hearing that, the surrounding sword saints were stunned. What kind of joke is this? This kid wants to break such a terrifying sword formation alone? In their opinion, that was simply audacious. He's courting death. Those who were watching also sneered. You're courting death. All right, you said it yourself. Don't blame us. Don't hold back. 6 experts stood out and surrounded Lin Xian. The 6 of them released a terrifying aura, and everyone was worried for Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian sneered. Make your move, or you won't have a chance. You're courting death. The 6 of them roared and then quickly attacked. Terrifying sword chi swept out, shaking the heavens and the earth. It was as if divine chains were descending from the sky towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian condensed the 10 ultimate swords and slashed out. It was as if a peerless sword light swept across heaven and earth. The light of his sword actually surpassed the 6-pole sword formation. Countless people were shocked. With a clang, the sword chi of the 6-pole sword formation was split apart. Lin Xian's 10 pinnacle swords attacked one of them. That person roared angrily and used a sword formation to block. However, it was completely useless. The other 5 people acted together and only then did they block this sword. At this moment, the faces of the people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were filled with incomparable fear. The sword saints watching the battle from afar were also stunned. Who was this kid? Wasn't his swordsmanship too terrifying? After all, the 10,000 Swords Pavilion had sent out 6 sword experts. When they formed a sword formation, no one below the Saint King realm would be able to withstand it. However, in Lin Xian's hands, it was as if it could not withstand a single blow and was easily broken apart. Lin Xian had almost killed a powerful sword saint right there and then. Looks like your sword formation isn't that great either. Lin Xian sneered. Then he attacked again and a terrifying sword chi flew out. He charged towards the other person. The 10 pinnacle swords formed by 10 types of laws were extremely powerful. Coupled with Lin Xian's strength, it could be said that it could sweep through everything. No matter how strong the 6-pole sword formation was, how could it block it? Therefore, Lin Xian suppressed the entire sword formation with one sword. Some people attacked crazily, and the sword formation changed rapidly. It formed a terrifying attack that enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. 9 suns opening sky. With a slash of his sword, a golden sword light shot into the sky as if it was going to split heaven and earth. After one attack, the 6-pole sword formation was directly shattered. One of them was split in half. Then Lin Xian's long sword swept across. Boom. Another 2 sword saints were split apart. With another slash, everyone was split apart. They vomited blood and their bodies turned into a bloody mist. The six-pole sword formation was not bad, but it was used by six trash like you. Lin Xian said indifferently. The surrounding people were all stunned. Was he dead? The other party easily broke the six-pole sword formation and killed six sword Dao experts. It was unbelievable. The people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion became extremely frightened. The people who were watching the battle from afar were also horrified. He was too strong. He was definitely a top-notch genius. No wonder he was so confident. How was that possible? The elders of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion's faces became extremely ugly. They quickly retreated. Damn it. Run and inform our Sage King. They wanted to escape quickly. Lin Xian waved his hand. Behind him, Ling Hu Chueshue Shengguan Shaoxian, and the others all walked up. They began to suppress. Lu Yuan formed a seal with his palms and countless frost froze the entire world. Do you think it's possible to escape? A cold voice sounded. The people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were really desperate. This time they were afraid that they would not be able to escape. However, at this moment, a sword chi descended from the sky. It had an unpredictable power that seemed to be able to suppress everything. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian's pupils constricted. He took out the great spear of destruction, roared angrily, and rushed out directly. With a boom, the two collided. Lin Xian retreated, his face pale. The boundless devil chi still managed to block the sword. Ling Hu Chueshue and the others' faces changed drastically. The surrounding people were even more shocked. This was the aura of a Sage King. A Sage King had arrived. The people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were so excited that they were about to cry. A Sage King. Great, their divine ghost sword saint had arrived. Boy, do you dare to attack the 10,000 Swords Pavilion? The divine ghost sword saint appeared in the sky and looked down coldly. Lin Xian snorted coldly, holding the great spear of destruction in his hand. He said coldly, "You should have thought of this when you attacked Wushuang City." The people in the distance were stunned. This kid was actually not dead. This kid was actually able to block the attack of a Sage King. One had to know that the gap between a Sage King and a Sage King was simply too big. A Sage King could kill a group of Sage Kings with a single glance. But at this moment, the other party was still alive. It seems that you have a Sage King in your hands. But do you think you can compete with me just because you're like this? The difference is too big. The divine ghost sword saint sneered. At this moment, a voice came from behind Lin Xian. Is that so? Then you can try again. The Wushuang Sage King walked out of the vortex. That's great, master. Ling Hu Chueshue and the others exclaimed. Lin Xian also nodded. It seemed like the crisis had been resolved. However, even if the Wushuang Sage King did not come, he could still leave calmly. Wushuang, do you really want to be my enemy? The divine ghost sword saint's expression was unusually cold. The Wushuang Sage King sneered. You were the one who wanted to be my enemy first. The Great Desolate Mansion will be your end. If you still remember the Great Desolate Mansion, then today is the day you die. In the void, an old Sage King walked out. It was the old Sage King of the Great Desolate Mansion. At this moment, he had aged again and his hair was even whiter. It was obvious that using too much power previously had a great impact on him. However, he still came because he wanted to kill the Wushuang Sage King. Chapter 4402. Soaring Sky Sage King walked out of the void, suppressing the entire area. The sword sages who were watching the battle from afar were stunned. The Sage Kings had come out together. Oh my god, was this going to be a great battle? They retreated frantically. I knew that you would team up. Did you think I wasn't prepared? As soon as he finished speaking, Kunlun Sage King walked out. So did Wuji Sage King. Is that so? Do you really think you can overturn the heavens this time? After that, the Silver Corpse Sage King walked out. Beside him was another figure. It was Sage King Spirit Yan. Many people's eyes narrowed when they saw him. Even Lin Xian's expression changed. This was an extremely terrifying Saint King. Mid-stage Sage King. He was different from the old Sage King of the Great Barren Mansion. Sage King Spirit Yan's vitality was very strong. He was probably even stronger. The appearance of Saint King Yanling caused everyone to be shocked. Such a terrifying Saint King could definitely sweep through everything. Even Lin Xian and the others frowned. Two great Sage Kings walked out from Peerless Sage King's side. The Holy Kings of the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion, Joyous Union Palace, and Vast Ocean Shop had all come out. Their auras were unparalleled. When they joined hands, they were no weaker than their opponents. Seeing so many Sage Kings gathered together, a great battle was about to break out. Everyone please don't fight. At this moment, Sage Wang from the Five Elements Sacred Land flew over and said loudly. Other than him, there was another Sage King from a sacred land. It was Sage King of All Beginnings. The two of them said that they could discuss anything. There was nothing to discuss. Peerless Sage King said coldly. On the other side, Silver Corpse Sage King also snorted. Do you think we're afraid of you? The killing intent between the two sides became sharper. However, Five Elements Sage King and Sage King of All Beginnings said that if they really wanted to fight, they should abide by the rules and not fight in Eastern Wilderness. It was better to fight in the outer region. They were here because they were afraid that the battle between the Sage Kings would affect the entire Eastern Wilderness. Yes, there were other solutions. For example, they could let the younger generation fight. These Sage Kings were too strong. It was better to let the younger generation fight. Peerless Sage King laughed. Do you think they dare to fight? They had gone too far. Saint King Divine Ghost snorted. He stared ahead and said, why wouldn't he dare to let the young disciples fight? However, this fellow could not make a move. Isn't he your junior brother? Isn't he no longer part of the younger generation? Oh really? So, you admit that you and I are on equal footing? Lin Xian also sneered. Very well, have your disciples and grand-disciples come over, kowtow to me and call me ancestor. I won't do it. Damn it. Saint King Divine Ghost snorted coldly. The faces of the people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion turned ugly. On the other hand, Peerless Saint King said, sure, my junior brother won't fight. How about it? Do you dare this time? Next, the younger generation continued their battles. However, the results were shocking. Even if Lin Xian didn't make a move, Linghu Chueshue, Fu Hongye, and the other personal disciples were equally terrifying. The people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were no match for him. Even Wan Jianyi was defeated by Linghu Chueshue again. Many of the geniuses were even slain. This scene caused Saint King Divine Ghost's heart to bleed. He snorted coldly, and his body once again emitted a biting cold killing intent. However, at this moment someone walked over from afar. Was someone teaching him? It seemed to be the people from the second astral realm. Hearing this voice, the Saint Kings all turned their heads and looked over. The people in the distance were even more shocked. Were there more Saint Kings? However, they were surprised when they discovered that it wasn't a group of young people, but the people from the buried Emperor Star. Peerless Saint King and the others also narrowed their eyes. What were the people from the buried Emperor Star doing here at this time? I heard that there are many geniuses in the second astral realm. I wonder if we can exchange pointers now? Someone said coldly. Another person said, along the way, I've always heard that the personal disciples of Peerless Saint City are very powerful. Why don't we fight now? Hearing this, the surrounding people all sucked in a breath of cold air. Were these people going to challenge again? Saint King Divine Ghost and the others sneered coldly. Linghu Chueshue said, if you want to challenge, sure, but you have to wait until we get our revenge first. After saying that, they wanted to continue fighting. However, those people walked over and said, what? You don't want to fight with us? You're not giving us face. Their faces darkened, and their bodies emitted an extremely terrifying aura. Lin Xian frowned. Linghu Chueshue and the others also said, are you trying to stop us from taking revenge? Or are you planning to help the 10,000 Swords Pavilion? I'll help the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. What's wrong? If you have the ability, then fight me. These people sneered. Linghu Chueshue and the others' faces became incomparably cold. Lin Xian also frowned. What was going on? Could it be that these people from the buried Emperor Star were invited by Saint King Divine Ghost and the others? Suddenly he remembered something. Back in the primordial grotto, Saint King Spirit Yen had invited the Reincarnation Protector. Beside the Reincarnation Protector sat Han Chong and the others. In other words, Saint King Spirit Yen was related to the Reincarnation Protector. That was why he was able to invite these people. Since you want to fight, then we'll accompany you to the end. Linghu Chueshue, Fu Hongye and the others coldly snorted. They can see that these people are here to cause trouble. Since that's the case, then they won't be polite. The surrounding people were stunned. With so many Saint Kings appearing together, other than the Sword Saints in the distance, the other people from the Eastern Wasteland also came over. They were watching the battle from afar. When they saw this scene, they all cried out in alarm. It seems like another top-level battle is about to erupt. At this time, Lin Xian also walked over. I was wondering who you were. Turns out you're just a defeated opponent. Trash, like you don't have the qualifications to be arrogant in front of us. Who are you? The people from the buried Emperor Star stared at Lin Xian, their eyes releasing biting cold killing intent. Lin Xian stared at the blue-robed man with a trace of disdain in his eyes. The blue-robed man was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Damn it, that kid is actually here. His expression became incomparably unsightly. A bunch of nonsense. Back in the void, it was you who launched a sneak attack. I was careless. That's why I was defeated. Otherwise, you think you're my match? Oh, is that so? Good, I'll give you a chance. Attack me with all your strength. If I can't kill you in one move, I'll admit defeat. Lin Xian waved his hand, his eyes containing a trace of sneer. After the surrounding people heard this, they were incomparably shocked. A genius from the buried Emperor Star who lost in one move? Who is this? He's too insolent. Countless people cried out in alarm. Even the Saint Kings were startled. Chapter 4403. The blue-robed man was even more furious. He was so angry that he went crazy. At this moment, the armored man on Jingyun's side said, Lan Qin, he has already issued such a challenge. Don't tell me you don't dare to accept it? If you can't even block a single move from him, what qualifications do you have to stand here? I think you should scram back to your family as soon as possible. Damn it, shut up. Lan Qin roared. Then he raised his head and stared at Lin Xian. His eyes blossomed with incomparable killing intent. Brat, you don't know the difference between life and death. I will definitely make you regret it. Since the other party had issued such a challenge, how could he not accept it? In the next moment, he furiously roared and his palms continuously formed seals. 9 blue lights appeared on his body and connected with each other, forming a blue palace that released an incomparable aura. Is this the legendary Blue Sea Star Palace? Many people on the buried Emperor Star were astonished. It seems that Lan Qin is really going all out. He immediately used his strongest divine ability. Feeling the terror of the Blue Palace, the 10,000 Swords Pavilion's people sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Even Linghu Chueshue and the others had incomparably grave expressions. They naturally felt the terror of this attack. As expected of someone from the buried Emperor Star, he is really too strong. Brat, this is the result of provoking me. Lan Qin roared and controlled the South Sea Palace to fly out. At this moment, everyone became nervous. The sage rulers were also incomparably nervous. After all, the other party was a genius from the buried Emperor Star. Lin Xian sneered again and again. When the other party attacked, he sent out a palm. His palm was covered with endless light, as if it had turned into a golden sun. It was incomparably resplendent. With a boom, this attack collided with the other party's immortal palace, erupting with an incomparable aura. The surrounding mountains continued to shatter, and the earth began to split apart. After this attack, it was as if thousands of suns in the sky had cracked together. Then cracks appeared on the Blue Sea Star Palace. It was torn apart. Boom. Lan Qin's body was also affected by this attack and quickly retreated. However, it was not over. Lin Xian's hand did not stop there. He directly grabbed the other party's neck and ruthlessly slammed the other party to the ground. Boom. The earth shattered, spreading in all directions, and a black hole appeared. Lan Qin felt dizzy and cracks appeared on his body. He let out a painful roar. The surrounding people were completely stunned. Heavens, what's going on? Was Lan Qin really defeated in a single move? That was the most powerful technique. Even Sacred King Divine Ghost, Sacred King Silver Corpse, and the others were shocked. They knew about Lan Qin's identity. The geniuses from the powerful clans of the buried Emperor Star would definitely be able to sweep through everything here. Apart from the people from the Emperor clan, no one else was their match. But now he had actually lost. Furthermore, he was defeated in a single move. They looked at Lin Xian with a cold look in their eyes. Such a person must not be allowed to live. Because to them the threat was too great. Damn it, I'm going to kill you. Lan Qin, who was on the ground, kept roaring. The power in his body surged once again. It seemed like he wanted to counterattack. However, Lin Xian stepped on him and said coldly, Trash, if you move again I'll kill you. Everyone's eyes almost popped out. A genius from the buried Emperor Star was actually treated like this. Sure enough, those people from the buried Emperor Star furiously roared. Damn it, take your foot away. You actually dared to injure Lan Qin. You're dead. Brat, quickly kneel down and apologize, otherwise I'll tear you into 10,000 pieces. What, you don't accept it? If you don't accept it, then come and fight. I guarantee that your end will be even more miserable than his. Lin Xian's gaze swept all around, his eyes contained a trace of coldness. As for those people in front, they were all startled. For a moment, no one dared to speak. The reason for that was because the power that Lin Xian had unleashed earlier was simply too powerful. It had caused them to feel apprehensive. Seeing that no one dared to say anything, Lin Xian coldly groaned. Truly a bunch of trash. What genius from the buried Emperor Star. In my opinion, you're just SOSO. Damn it. Those people were so angry that they wanted to vomit blood. They are high and mighty, when have they ever been suppressed like this? Lin Xian looked around and stared at some other people. He looked at the battle-armored man and said, "You were the one who was arrogant before, right? You think you're stronger than him? Then make a move, I'll give you a chance." The battle-armored man's expression instantly became unsightly. He was indeed arrogant, but he didn't expect that Lin Xian's strength would be so strong. However, since he was targeted in front of everyone, it was impossible for him to not make a move. Therefore, in the next moment he said, "Brat, my strength is not something that Lan Chen can compare to. Since you're challenging me, I can only say that you're courting death. Enough nonsense, come here and accept your death." Lin Xian waved his hand and directly grabbed at the front. The battle-armored man's figure flashed and he instantly dodged. His expression became completely gloomy. Then, countless laws appeared on his body and quickly spread out, forming a mirror. This mirror bloomed in the sky, causing the entire sky to darken. And within the mirror, a ray of light appeared. It was extremely terrifying. "Brat, go die under my heaven-breaking mirror." With a roar, the heaven-breaking mirror exploded with an incomparable light. It could even pierce through the sky, let alone a young man. At this moment, the mountains and rivers shattered and everything in the surroundings was cracking. The people of the true spirit world went crazy. What kind of method was this? It was simply unimaginable. On the other hand, Lin Xian laughed loudly. Kill. His palm formed the man-ruler seal and slapped forward. Boundless power surged out and a domineering aura enveloped the world. It directly collided with the opponent's heaven-breaking mirror. With an earth-shattering boom, the world shook. The man-ruler seal bloomed with light and swept across the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Cracks appeared on the heaven-breaking mirror, and then the mirror shattered. The battle-armored man vomited blood and was sent flying again. Then he was grabbed by Lin Xian's palm and stepped on. At this moment, everyone was stunned. The people of the buried Emperor Star were stunned. Had the heaven-breaking mirror been shattered? Damn it, what kind of secret technique did this guy use? Some people's expressions turned ugly. This was a secret technique from the eternal battlefield. Damn it, he had been to the eternal battlefield. And he had obtained a heaven-defying fortune. With this little strength, you dare to challenge me? It seems that you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Lin Xian stepped on the 2 geniuses. Then he said coldly. Previously, it was a grudge between Wuxia City and the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. But what about you? Relying on your powerful status, you came to help the 10,000 Swords Pavilion suppress Wuxia City. I can only say that you have miscalculated. I want to see if you still dare to interfere in the matters of Wuxia City. Get lost. Lin Xian roared. Chapter 4404. Sacred Monarch, Divine Ghost and the others had extremely unsightly expressions. The 10,000 Sword Pavilion's people were dumbfounded. The other party's strength was so strong that even if they all attacked together, they wouldn't be his match. The buried Emperor Star's people had unsightly expressions. A figure walked out. He was wearing a cloud robe and his aura was terrifying to the extreme. "Brat, let go of my people and break your own arms. I will spare your life." Hearing this, Lin Xian didn't say anything. Instead, he exerted force with his foot and the armored man under his feet was torn apart. He let out a miserable roar. Seeing this scene, Jingyun was instantly enraged. "You're courting death. I will let you know how powerful our buried Emperor Star is." After speaking, he walked out. The others sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Jingyun was going to personally make a move? This was too inconceivable. Jingyun was an extremely terrifying existence even among the buried Emperor Star's people. His strength far surpassed the previous 2 people. If he made a move, the other party wouldn't be able to block it. Linghu Chueshue and the others became nervous again. They could naturally feel that this person's aura was even stronger than the previous 2 people. Clearly, this person was an extremely terrifying expert. "I will let you experience my heaven cloud palm." Jingyun stretched out his palms and slapped forward. His palms were mysterious and unfathomable. They suddenly became larger and seemed to transform into a part of the sky as they pressed down from the sky. Lin Xian punched out. The terrifying power of his divine body shattered the void. However, he discovered that he didn't shatter the palm. This made him feel astonished. Sure enough, this person was strong enough. It seemed that this person was a leader-level character. He far surpassed the previous two people. Lin Xian also slapped out with his palm. Divine flames overflowed and blocked the clouds that filled the sky. The two people's power was in a deadlock in the sky. The surrounding void spread out in all directions. Seeing this scene, the true spirit world's cultivators cried out in alarm. This was a divine body. Too powerful, worthy of being the central emperor. This was a peak expert from our true spirit world. Great. Defeat him, suppress him. Sweep away everything. Let them know that our true spirit world also had experts. At this moment, countless people were cheering for Lin Xian. On the other side, Sacred King Silver Corpse, Sacred King Divine Ghost, and the others had cold expressions. However, they didn't say anything. Because Lin Xian's strength was indeed very strong. Until now, he had not been defeated. Even if he faced Jingyun, they were evenly matched. Who would dare to mock such a person now? After blocking his opponent's attack, Lin Xian sneered. You're only a so-so. You were so arrogant before, so I thought you were very powerful. You are indeed more powerful than the previous two, but you are not that much stronger. Damn brat, don't be so arrogant. Jingyun gritted his teeth. He was about to go crazy. He did not expect that the other party could actually block his sky cloud palm. But so what? His heaven cloud palm was mysterious and unfathomable, and this was just the beginning. The first transformation of the 6 transformations of the heavenly clouds. With a furious roar, the palm suddenly erupted with an incomparable aura, causing everyone's hair to stand on end. It was too scary. Everyone was shocked. Sure enough, the divine fire in the sky was wrapped in the clouds and became incomparably hazy. However, the palm seemed to have passed through everything and attacked Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a clench of his fist, he turned into a golden crow and rushed over, enveloping the countless rays of light. In the next moment, the two collided, and it was as if the world had split open. The surrounding sacred kings attacked, sending this power into the sky. Otherwise, the mountains and rivers of the eastern wilderness would have been shattered by this attack. Second transformation. Third transformation. Seeing this scene, Jingyun did not say anything and directly attacked again. He was really crazy, so he used his power recklessly. He seemed to have turned into a supreme god that could sweep through everything. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He stood there proudly and formed a hand seal again, forming the man-ruler seal. At this moment, a powerful aura emanated from his body, shocking everyone. They even wanted to kneel down and worship Lin Xian. What kind of boldness was this? On the other hand, Lin Xian slapped out with his palm. The powerful man-ruler seal collapsed the sky and split the earth. Even the supreme existences in the 9 heavens and 10 earths would not be able to escape from this attack. Boom. Sure enough, the other party's divine ability was broken again, and the man-ruler seal continued to attack. Damn it. 4th transformation. 5th transformation. Jingyun's pupils constricted. He did not expect that the other party could break his divine ability. He roared angrily. At this moment, countless palms appeared in the sky. Each of them carried an extremely powerful force that enveloped down. Finally, the man-ruler seal was blocked. As the man-ruler seal slowly disappeared, those palms mercilessly rushed towards Luo Yunyang. Jingyun finally revealed a cold smile. Could die. The people of the buried Emperor Star also heaved a sigh of relief. How could he be a match for Jingyun? It seemed that he had used up all his strength. However, as soon as they finished speaking, their expressions became incomparably ugly. Because they discovered that under Lin Xian's control, the man-ruler seal once again erupted with incomparable light. This attack penetrated through everything. However, in the end, it also dissipated between heaven and earth. The surrounding people were stunned. It was too strong. A fierce battle between dragons and tigers, absolutely incomparably powerful. Is there anything else? If you don't have any divine ability, you will definitely lose. Lin Xian said coldly. On the opposite side, Jingyun's expression was grave. Kid, next I will use the 6th transformation. You should be proud to be able to die under this kind of divine ability. It was obvious that the 6th transformation was an extremely powerful mystic art. Between heaven and earth, endless rays of light bloomed. The rays of light shrouded the area, and all of them gathered on Jingyun's palm. In his hand there was a fog that spread out. With a light shake, the void shattered, mountains and rivers split open, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. This attack was too strong. Linghu Chueshue and the others were worried for Lin Xian. Even Peerless Saint King and the others frowned. Is this the strength of the people from the buried Emperor's Star? They are indeed incomparably terrifying. This kind of divine ability was enough to sweep through everything. Lin Xian took a deep breath. Facing this palm, he did not use the Man-Ruler Seal but used another divine ability. Mountain-Embracing Seal. Between heaven and earth, a divine mountain appeared, as if it had crossed over from ancient times. As soon as it appeared, the surrounding mountains began to shatter and cracks began to appear. It was simply unable to withstand this power. The faces of the Saint Kings also changed. This is? They opened their eyes wide. The 5 elements Saint King and Saint King of all beginnings also exclaimed. Could this be the legendary divine ability, the Mountain-Embracing Seal? How could this guy use it? Once the Mountain-Embracing Seal appeared, it descended from the sky and shattered thousands of void. Then it collided with the 6th transformation of the Sky Cloud Hand. An earth-shattering sound rang out and the earth shattered. Tens of thousands of mountains collapsed, and the clouds in the sky also disappeared. Jingyun was directly sent flying, violently vomiting blood. Chapter 4405. Oh. When the people of the buried Emperor's Star saw this scene, they roared crazily. They had already used the 6th transformation of the Sky Cloud Hand. Could it be that they still couldn't defeat their opponent? At this moment they felt a sense of despair. All along they had thought that they were peerless geniuses that could trample anyone under their feet. But now they realized that they were wrong. It turned out that other worlds could also give birth to terrifying experts. In fact, killing them was no different from cutting vegetables. Lin Xian slowly retracted his palm and said indifferently, "To be defeated by the Mountain-Embracing Seal, you should be proud." Boom. In the distance, Jingyun descended from the sky, forming a large crack. He stood up, his body was covered with wounds. It was extremely terrifying. At this moment his eyes were red. He lost. He was actually defeated. "Damn brat, I'm going to kill you." After speaking, a ray of light flew out from between his eyebrows. Lin Xian coldly snorted. The sacred mountain in the sky descended to block the attack. However, the sacred mountain was instantly sent flying. Lin Xian was also sent flying back, smashing into 2 mountains. He felt that his arm was about to split open. When countless people saw this scene, they cried out in alarm. "What is that thing?" Jingyun looked up to the sky and laughed. "Ah brat, you're dead. You want to compete with me? In your next life." An arrogant voice resounded between heaven and earth. The people of Peerless City and True Spirit World had extremely ugly expressions. Could it be that Lin Xian, who had just won, was killed by someone? "Damn it. You sneak attacked me." Jingyun sneered. "Who said that the battle was over?" It was his own carelessness. "Whoever is not convinced, come and die." He was incomparably powerful. Those below the Sage King realm did not dare to resist him. "Great, this guy is finally dead." The people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion laughed. The people of the buried Emperor's Star also heaved a sigh of relief. However, a figure walked out from the shattered mountain in the distance. He threw countless huge rocks into the sky. Then he walked on the ground. "Sneak attack me? You're already at the end of your road. Don't you have any other methods? However, do you really think that you can kill me like this?" Lin Xian's voice was ice cold. He was also angry. If the divine mountain hadn't blocked that attack for him, he would have been dead already. This attack could penetrate his body. Clearly that was his opponent's trump card. Not dead? The people from the buried Emperor's Star were all stunned. Even Jingyun's pupils shrank. How could this be? Could it be because of the illusion of the sacred mountain? I didn't think that your luck would be so good to be able to survive. However, you'll definitely die now. The white light flew out from between his eyebrows again. It was only then that the crowd discovered that it was a palm carved out of white jade. It was incomparably mysterious and possessed an extremely powerful force. And inside there was a blood-colored light. Clearly that was a drop of blood that had been left behind by an expert for Jingyun to protect his life. "Let's see how you're going to dodge this time." As he spoke, he waved his hand and his jade-white palm rapidly shot forth. There was a monstrous law on it, and the aura of a powerhouse filled the air. "Damn it, this isn't your power." Fu Hongye, Shangguan Shaoxian and the others roared. However, it was useless. The light from the palm was too powerful, and it instantly shot towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian's expression became incomparably cold. This was his opponent's super powerful trump card, and he had to use his trump card to contend against it. In the next moment he directly took out the Great Destruction Spear and attacked. Boundless demonic chi surged like a peerless demon god. Everyone's expression changed. Sacred King Divine Ghost had instantly changed. He had used his Sacred King's weapon. There was no need to fight this battle anymore. However, Peerless Sacred King had blocked his opponent. Did you think that the Jade White Palm was the opponent's true strength? It contained the law and power of a powerhouse. If others can use their trump cards, why can't we? Sacred King Divine Ghost was speechless after hearing this. At this moment, the two attacks collided and a shocking light burst out. The Jade White Palm was trembling from the impact. Lin Xian roared angrily. The great dragon sword soul in his body erupted, and the great destruction spear in his hand became even more terrifying. At this moment, his demonic chi was monstrous, as if he had turned into a demon god. One attack after another. In an instant, thousands of attacks were launched and it directly collapsed. In the void. Then cracks appeared on the Jade White Palm and it shattered with a loud bang. Boundless demonic chi swallowed everything. How was this possible? Jingyun was completely dumbfounded. Had his strongest trump card, his life-saving method, been destroyed? Damn it, that was a Sacred King's weapon. He gritted his teeth and roared. He wanted to say something, but Lin Xian had already arrived in front of him. The opponent had no trump card and he did not need to use the Great Destruction Spear. Therefore he directly slapped out. With a bang, the slap landed on the opponent's face and sent him flying. The opponent's face was directly shattered. The words he wanted to say were also forcefully extinguished. Then Lin Xian made his move. No one dared to compete with him in close combat. Sure enough, no matter how strong Jingyun was, he was beaten miserably in close combat. Soon his body was shattered. A bloody mist filled the sky, trying to escape. However, Lin Xian formed a Taiji diagram, and with one attack, endless yin and yang power appeared. Especially the law of death, it crazily absorbed the opponent's life force. Jingyun was so scared that his face turned pale. Oh, damn it. Stop it. You dare to attack me, you're dead. Lin Xian coldly snorted and sent the opponent flying with a slap. He said coldly, now you know fear? Then, when you challenged me just now, did you think that this would be the result? Do you think that if you weren't from the buried Emperor Star, you would be able to live until now? Your soul would have been destroyed long ago. But so what if you're from the buried Emperor Star? Come and apologize to us. Otherwise, I won't let you off today. What? Jingyun was furious. His face became incomparably sinister. You want me to apologize? You want me to lower my head? Damn it, you want me to lose face? If I apologize, I reckon that I won't be able to raise my head again. If this matter spread, I will lose all my face. However, a trace of cold killing intent appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. If not for his senior brother Limitless Saint King and others' voice transmission, telling him to hold back and not become enemies with the buried Emperor Star, he would have already destroyed the opponent's star soul. Seeing the opponent hesitate, he directly split the opponent's body in half. What, you don't want to? Then I don't mind using some methods. Even if I don't kill you, I can keep you by my side and use some secret technique on you every day. I think you can endure for a few days. Hearing this, Jingyun's eyes filled with fear. This is even more unbearable than killing him. He can only say that he was wrong this time. He will apologize to you and spare his life. Once these words came out, the surrounding people were all stunned. The people of the buried Emperor Star were also stunned. Even someone as strong as Jingyun is begging for mercy? Who told you to stand? Kneel down and say it. Chapter 4406. Boom. Jingyun directly knelt down. But Jingyun gritted his teeth so hard that they shattered. He fainted from anger. This was 10,000 times worse than killing him. Fainted? Lin Xian sneered. The other party was so arrogant before and now he wanted to escape? He used the cold law of death to envelop the other party. Instantly the other party woke up and was terrified. I don't have much patience. You only have one chance. Lin Xian said coldly. Jingyun was in despair. He wished that the other party could kill him, but the other party didn't. The other party was tormenting him. I apologize. I shouldn't have attacked you. Please spare my life. Get lost. Don't let me see you again. Lin Xian waved his hand and said coldly. Jingyun retreated. He gritted his teeth and said, let's go. With that, he left with his people. On the other side, Han Chang's eyes flickered. He also left with his people. Everyone knew that this matter wouldn't end like this. After all, these people came from the buried Emperor Star. After losing face here, they would definitely fight back. Lin Xian didn't care because he would soon head to the buried Emperor Star. When he arrived there, he would definitely stir up a storm. At that time, These people would only become his stepping stones. Then he looked ahead and sneered. Alright, no one cared about what happened here anymore. 10,000 Swords Pavilion, we can continue? The 10,000 Swords Pavilion's people were pale. They felt despair. Sacred King Divine Ghost's face was also ferocious. This scene was completely out of their expectations. Could it be that another battle was going to break out? However, Saint King Yenling frowned, because the other side had as many Saint Kings as they did. Once they started fighting, they would lose. Although they were strong, the deity Dao Union's people might be here. At that time, no one would know what the result would be. Sacred King Divine Ghost gritted his teeth. Are you really not going to give us any face? Sacred King Peerless snorted coldly. When you attacked Peerless City, did you think of giving us some face? Since you didn't, then prepare to suffer the consequences. Sacred King Soaring Sky from Myriad Demon City gritted his teeth and said, Sacred King Peerless, are you sure you want to do this? Peerless Saint King looked at him. Thousand Demon City, I still remember you. You've always been at odds with my Peerless City. Don't make me attack you. Hearing this, the Soaring Sky Saint King's pupils constricted. He gritted his teeth with a ferocious expression. However, he didn't dare to say anything. They all looked at Spirit Saint King Yen. Sage King Yenling's eyes flickered. He had been scouting the surroundings. He wanted to know if the deity Dao Union's people had come. But he never noticed. However, he did not dare to be careless. The deity Dao Union was mysterious and unfathomable. Who knew when it would appear? Alright, let's begin. It's a fair fight. My junior brother won't make a move, but my disciples will. You can send as many people as you want. Let's begin. Following that, Ling Hu Chueshue and the others began to attack. It wasn't just the young geniuses anymore. Even the elders were attacking. Seeing the elders attack, Lin Xian said, Since you're using the elders, it's not too much for me to attack, right? After saying that, he also attacked aggressively. The moment the Taiji diagram appeared, the two figures instantly turned into a bloody mist. Then, his man-ruler seal and mountain-embracing seal swept out in all directions. These elders could not withstand it at all. Not long after, another 3 people fell. Divine Ghost Saint King's heart was bleeding. He wanted to attack, but he was being watched by Peerless Saint King. This time he did not bring many people with him, but every one of them was a top genius and expert. However, these people were all dying at this moment. If all of them died, then the loss would be too great. Finally, he could not hold it in any longer. A cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. At the same time, the void split open. A terrifying killing intent swept out, directly enveloping Lin Xian. This attack was really too terrifying. Heaven and earth changed. Everyone's expression changed. They could not react at all. Even Lin Xian's pupils shrank. At the critical moment, he activated the Great Sage Pagoda and was sent flying. The Great Sage Pagoda kept shaking, and Lin Xian spat out large mouthfuls of blood. At the same time, he used the Void Escape technique to quickly dodge. Peerless Saint King coldly snorted. The unparalleled sword flew out, cutting through the void. On the other side, Vast Ocean Saint also attacked. Endless seawater churned, and one sea beast after another swept out in all directions, covering the entire sky. Then the void completely shattered. From inside, a person with a mistress appeared. A black-clothed figure appeared. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian snorted coldly. You really did attack again. It seemed that the Myriad Sword Pavilion and the human world were also connected. If that was the case, then there was no need for them to exist. Damn it. The surrounding people's pupils shrank. Even Divine Ghost Saint King was stunned. To be honest, he did not plan to let the human world attack because he wanted to do it himself. How could this be? On the side, Silver Corpse Saint King said, It's useless to think about it now. Let's join forces and kill them. Obviously, the human world's people were called over by Silver Corpse Saint King. Divine Ghost Saint King's face was ugly. But at this point, it was impossible for him to go back on his words. Now he could only join forces and kill Peerless Saint King and the others. Junior brother, you should retreat. Peerless Saint King unleashed a devouring vortex. Lin Xian nodded and quickly retreated. Next, there would be an even more terrifying battle between the Saint Kings. Sure enough, the surrounding people of the true spirit world were stunned. No way the Saint Kings were going to attack. And there were so many of them. Peerless, today is the day you die. Divine Ghost Saint King roared and rushed over with the Firmament Sword. The Firmament Sword emitted endless killing intent, overturning heaven and earth. The surrounding people were all sent flying, vomiting blood. Run away quickly. They were no match for the battle between the Saint Kings. Peerless Saint King snorted coldly. At the same time, the surrounding people all retreated. The Saint Kings instantly attacked. Silver Corpse Saint King roared. But at this moment, the void split open, and a ray of light scattered, directly striking Spirit Saint King. Just as Spirit Saint King was about to attack, he was ambushed from behind and was sent flying. Even Silver Corpse Saint King was shocked. He hurriedly used the Yellow Springs diagram to defend. At the same time, he looked around and roared crazily. Who dares ambush us? Spirit Saint King Yen coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. His body had been shattered by this attack and he was severely injured. Blood flowed, dyeing the 9 heavens red. He roared at the sky, his expression ferocious. His terrifying gaze pierced through the space behind him. In the void behind him, a hazy figure appeared. The aura emitted from his body was very mysterious. And above his head, there was a pagoda floating up and down. That pagoda was emitting a terrifying power. The aura on it was enough to shatter heaven and earth. The desolate tower's phantom? Spirit Saint King felt his hair stand on end. He felt a fatal aura. Chapter 4407. Had the Jade Lake sacred ground made a move? However, that was only an illusion. It didn't really walk out. And after that attack, it disappeared into the void. The surrounding Saint Kings also felt their hair stand on end. Desolation was an extreme weapon, an existence that could suppress everything. If it really exploded, they wouldn't be able to resist at all. But fortunately, the other party only attacked once and didn't attack again. One attack was enough. Saint King Kunlun walked out with a cold smile. The previous attack had already seriously injured Saint King Spirit Word. Saint King Vast Sea and Saint King Bai Bue also walked out. They all stared at Saint King Spirit Word. Saint King Spirit Word's expression was extremely ugly. He was first seriously injured and now he was targeted by 3 great sage kings. Even if he was very strong before, he was probably very dangerous now. He gritted his teeth and roared. You people dare to plot against me? You really don't know what death is. Saint King Vast Sea snorted coldly. Plot against you? What a joke. Previously, at the sacred assembly of the ancient grotto, we were all cursed. Then we were poisoned by the great sage's corpse poison. Didn't you plot against us at that time? What face do you have to talk about us? Saint King Bue also snorted coldly. What do you want to say? Didn't you say that it was you who did it? If you really have nothing to do with the human world, then retreat now. We only target the divine ghost Saint Kings who are related to the human world. If you don't retreat, then you're in cahoots. What nonsense. You want to target the ancient grotto? The ancient grotto has never been afraid of anyone. At this time, Saint King Spirit Word didn't admit that he had anything to do with the human world. After all, the human world was very terrifying. Every tens of thousands of years, they would attack the great sage once, setting off a sea of blood that terrified countless people. Every single time, the various holy lands had to join forces and attack together in order to quell such an existence. He wouldn't take the initiative to admit it. However, at this time, a voice sounded between heaven and earth. Is that so? Then your grandson is alive again. How do you explain that? Hearing this, Saint King Spirit Word's pupils constricted. He suddenly raised his head. In the next moment he saw a young person fall from the sky. It was his grandson, Jianghu. When the Kunlun Sage King and the others saw this, their faces darkened. This was because they had seen with their own eyes that this young man had been killed by the people of the mortal world. However, at that moment he had come back to life. His situation was the same as Sacred King Desolate Heaven. Old thing, are you still saying that you have nothing to do with the human world? Then why is your grandson alive? The Divine King snorted coldly. Damn it, who was it that actually discovered the secret? Didn't he ask her grandson to hide properly? He looked up. In the next moment his expression turned extremely cold. This was because he discovered that the person who had attacked was actually Scholar Immortal. Damn it, the Divine Dao Gates people really came. In the sky, the deity Dao Union's undying scholar said coldly, Immemorial Grotto, you are indeed in cahoots with the mortal world. Since that's the case, I'll eliminate all of you today. It seemed like this time, Divine Dao Gate was truly angered, wishing to get rid of World of Man as well as those related to Time of Man. The surrounding people of the quintessential world also exclaimed in surprise. Immemorial Grotto was actually in cahoots with World of Man. This was really too unbelievable. Not only did World of Man make a move on the second astral realm, but it was also extremely terrifying in the quintessential world. It was the legendary sacred killing hall. Now, such a person had appeared again. This was really shocking to the great world of man. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that the sacred city of the second astral realm was going to be completely eliminated. World of man, damn it, sacred King Yenling's expression turned cold. Since he had been discovered, he no longer hid it. He said coldly, "That's right, I am indeed in cahoots with world of man." So what? However, you guessed wrong. Not only am I in cahoots with world of man, but I'm also a member of world of man. When these words came out, even sacred King Peerless and the others were stunned. The other party was originally a member of world of man. Damn it, it seemed like everything that had happened before had been planned by the other party. Originally, I wanted to let you live a little longer, but since you want to court death, I'll fulfill your wish. Sacred King Yenling shouted coldly. Then he said, "Get ready to attack. Leave no one alive." After he finished speaking, the surrounding sky started to shatter. Sacred King Silver Corpse, Sacred King Divine Ghost, and Divine King Fei Tian also walked out. Extremely cold auras were emitted from their bodies. At the same time, there were many masked men in black around them. The power on their bodies was equally terrifying. These were all sacred kings. Acheron Hall, Great Desolation Mansion, and Wanjian Pavilion. You're all involved. Even the Myriad Demon City was participating. Very well. Immortal Scholar also emitted a terrifying aura. Not only you, but the sacred city that you're in doesn't need to exist anymore. Hearing this, the sacred king's pupils shrank. Although they already knew that there would be such an outcome, when they heard this, their scalps still went numb. It seemed like they could only join forces with world of man. Otherwise, they would have no way of surviving. The people of Thunder God City also went numb. They never thought that their previous friend was actually a member of world of man. This scared them out of their wits. They hurriedly said, "This has nothing to do with us. We didn't know." Immortal Scholar glanced at these people and said, "Thunder God City indeed has nothing to do with this. However, you've all helped the evildoers. Now that the sacred kings have been killed, you deserve it. So quickly leave this place." The people of Thunder God City turned pale and quickly retreated. Actually, it wasn't just them. Everyone in the surroundings was retreating. This was because more and more sacred kings had appeared. Countless terrifying auras were condensing in the sky. Those below the sacred king realm simply couldn't withstand it. Lin Xian, Linghu Chueshue, and the others also quickly retreated. A vortex appeared on their bodies as they quickly flew into the distance. The geniuses of the other sacred cities did the same. Guan Songhai of Azure Ocean Palace, Qin Xianer of Acacia Palace, Kunlun Pavilion, and Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion did the same. They all quickly retreated. This was because they had already discussed this beforehand. Peerless Sacred King and the other sacred kings would join forces with the deity Dao Union and start a decisive battle with world of man. Then these young disciples would pass through the seal and head to the buried Emperor Star. This way, even if the deity Dao Union failed, world of man wouldn't be able to threaten them. Soon, Murong Qingqing, Shinjingqiu, and the others had all gathered. Even the dark red divine dragon, the toad, and the north demon had all come. These people hadn't been to the primordial battlefield before. Chapter 4408. Lin Xian also sighed in his heart. Were they finally going to reach the buried Emperor Star? That was the place where countless great emperors were buried. There were countless secrets and even secrets to becoming an immortal. It was also the end of the ancient starry sky path. He wondered what kind of world it was. His eyes were filled with boundless hope and curiosity. Their goal this time was the Reincarnation Valley. They had to find the Reincarnation Protector. This should be the place, right? Guan Songhai looked around and then looked at the valley. Let's go. These young geniuses quickly descended. They became incomparably respectful. After all, even their sage kings treated the Reincarnation Protector with respect. Junior requests an audience, Reincarnation Protector. Guan Songhai said loudly. His voice clearly spread in all directions. Everyone waited patiently, but there was no response. Guan Songhai called out again respectfully. At this moment, a voice rang out between heaven and earth. You are not qualified to see me. Ask your sage kings to come. Also, those below sage kings should not come here. This time I will let you live. If you dare to come here again, your souls will be destroyed. Scram. A terrifying voice rushed over, followed by an earth-shattering sound that surged towards them. Everyone felt their pupils constrict. It was as if their bodies were about to be suppressed by 100,000 mountains. Even Lin Xian's face became incomparably pale. Too strong. This reincarnation protector was probably even more terrifying than Sage King Yanling. Was he a Sage King? Or had he already surpassed the Sage King realm? However, why did they attack him? He roared angrily. This power made it very difficult for him to open the Great Sage Tower. These people were in despair. Could it be that they were going to die? It had not been easy for them to reach this point. However, they were unable to resist this voice at all. These people's eyes were filled with despair. At this moment a light flashed. Boundless black aura condensed and enveloped them. Then they completely disappeared. In the blink of an eye, everyone discovered that they had left the Reincarnation Valley and were outside. They did not know how many millions of miles they were away. Were they saved? These people all heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Xian was also surprised. Originally, he had wanted to use the Great Sage Pagoda to bring everyone in, but before he could do anything, someone had already made a move. Who could it be? To be able to take them away so easily, it was definitely a Saint King. The other people also turned their heads to look. In the next moment, they saw a black-robed person standing behind them. "Thank you for your help, Senior," those people said gratefully. Lin Xian was surprised. "Hey Shan, it's you?" "That's right, the person who attacked was He Shan. You came just in time to scare this dragon to death." The dark red dragon also had a look of lingering fear on its face. The toad said, "Damn it, that guy is too arrogant. He obviously wants to kill us." There were also people who said, "Don't talk nonsense. The reincarnation protector only has a weird temper." However, after He Shan heard this, he sneered. "Eccentric? Not necessarily. What do you know?" Lin Xian asked. He Shan said that he had been invited to the primordial grotto. His relationship with Saint King Yanling was very unusual. If Saint King Yanling was from the mortal world, then what about him? When these words came out, everyone's scalps went numb. Lin Xian also said, "Is he also from the mortal world?" He Shan shook his head. Obviously he knew more. He said, "He's not. I'm guessing that he should be from the buried Emperor Star." "Is he from the buried Emperor Star?" Lin Xian was surprised. No wonder. This explained why the other party was so powerful and why these Saint Kings were so respectful when they saw him. Also, during the Primordial Grotto's banquet, Han Chong and the others stayed by his side. Because these people were originally from the buried Emperor Star. He Shan said that although he came from the buried Emperor Star, he was responsible for guarding the Reincarnation Valley all year round. He had stayed here for thousands of years. Therefore, his relationship with Saint King Yanling was definitely not ordinary. Even if he wasn't from the mortal world, perhaps this time, he would still stand on the side of the mortal world. Hearing this, the expressions of Lin Xian and the others became unsightly. If that was really the case, then they would be in danger. If that was the case, wouldn't they be unable to enter the buried Emperor Star? He Shan said that there was still a chance. As long as they could win this battle, it would be fine. You guys stay here for now. I'll go and take a look at the situation. If necessary, I'll also take action. He Shan's eyes also flashed with a cold light. Lin Xian said, "Take us with you. We want to watch the battle from afar." "Alright, I can only take you a short distance. However, you should still watch the battle through the formation. With so many Saint Kings fighting, kid, even if you have a trump card, it'll be very difficult to resist." Next, He Shan brought these people to the eastern wasteland. Then he soared into the sky. Because the Saint Kings were fighting, they had already arrived in the starry sky. He Shan set up a formation so that Lin Xian and the others could see the situation in the starry sky. At this moment, the situation of the battle was incomparably terrifying. The entire starry sky had been completely destroyed. Countless large cracks spread out, and the surrounding stars were shattered. Some were directly turned into dust. This was simply too shocking. One had to know that they were all top geniuses. They could sweep through everything in the sacred venerables. However, compared to the Saint Kings, they were still too weak. The methods of these Saint Kings terrified them. Peerless Saint King fought Saint King God Ghost. Both of them used sword techniques. It was very terrifying. The Peerless sword soared through the sky, majestic, and the Firmament sword was even sharper. When it stood up, it was very terrifying. However, Peerless Saint King seemed to be stronger. Moreover, the law of devouring was even more terrifying. In the end, he devoured the Firmament sword. Then he slashed at Saint King God Ghost. Saint King God Ghost was instantly split in half. He was severely injured. Ah! He roared towards the sky and broke through the void, wanting to escape. Peerless Saint King snorted coldly. "You want to escape?" He also shattered the spatial passage with a sword and stopped the other party. Then he charged forward again. Peerless Saint King was Wine Lord's disciple. He had also received the law of devouring, and his strength was very terrifying. Therefore, no matter how strong Saint King God Ghost was, he was still defeated in the end and was severely injured. Seeing that he could not escape, he roared angrily. Wuxia, do you think you can win against me? Even if I die, I will drag you to hell with me. The 10,000 ancestral swords on his body were even more terrifying. Sword Chi soared into the sky, and the illusion of the world surrounded him. This aura shocked everyone. The Saint Kings in the starry sky were all terrified. They knew that Saint King God Ghost was going to go all out. Below, the creatures on the eastern wasteland were trembling and kneeling on the ground. Chapter 4409. Do you want to risk your life? Wu Shuang Holy King roared in anger. His eyes were shining brightly. Then, the law of devour around him kept flashing, forming a black talisman that merged with the peerless sword. The sword slashed out. Everything was over. That sword strike shocked everyone. No one could block that terrifying power. After the sword, Divine Ghost Sage King completely disappeared, turning into a bloody mist. Everyone was stunned. A Sage King had fallen just like that. Lin Xian and the others were excited. They clenched their fists. As for the Sage Kings who were fighting in the extraterritorial battle, their hearts were heavy. The deity Dao Union was naturally happy, but the mortal world side was cold. Divine Ghost Sage King was an extremely terrifying Sage King. Now he had fallen to such a state. Peerless Sage King stood there looking disdainfully. He said coldly, Divine Ghost Sage King has fallen. We will find the 10,000 Swords Pavilion and destroy it completely. From now on, the 10,000 Swords Pavilion will be removed from the world. An ice-cold voice resounded through the air. On the other side, Kunlun Sage King also killed a mortal world sage killer. The bloody mist filled the sky again. Another divine king had fallen. Black Mountain also walked out. He stared at Soaring Sage King and said coldly, Since you are also a heavenly beast, I will give you a quick death. Surrender. Damn it you! Soaring Sage King roared. He was a Sage King. How could he lose without a fight? So he roared and turned into his true form. He held two swords and quickly attacked. The boundless saber light flickered in the starry heavens, and the surrounding stars dimmed. Heaven and earth were shattered. It was as if the starry sky was being destroyed. At this moment, the experts below raised their heads again. Their faces were filled with fear. Countless demonic beasts roared into the sky. Too powerful. However, Black Mountain sneered. When I ruled the world, you weren't even born yet. You dare to attack me? Don't overestimate yourself. He flipped his palm and formed a black seal. He slammed it down. With a boom, the sword light in the sky was shattered. That black seal was like a millstone. It was pitch black. What weapon was that? However, it was extremely terrifying. As soon as it appeared, it swept through everything. Soaring Sky Saint King was sent flying as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. His face was filled with terror. Was the disparity between them so great? Damn it. Take my flying deity slash. Tens of thousands of blade lights appeared between heaven and earth. Each of them was burning like a peerless immortal light as they charged towards Black Mountain. As for He Shan, he formed seals with his palms. Countless black rays of light appeared around him, as if they had turned into tree branches, waving in all directions. These branches were pitch black, like sharp black arrows that pierced through everything. The saber light that filled the sky shattered once again. As for the Soaring Sky Saint King, he was pierced through and thousands of cracks appeared on his body. His face was filled with terror. Demonic beast, you are also a demonic beast. At this moment he could feel the terrifying aura of a demonic beast from the black branches. It was even stronger than him. It was as if a primordial beast was in a deep slumber. Spare my life. We are all variant beasts of heaven and earth. Please spare me this once. The Soaring Sky Saint King was already begging for mercy. I gave you a chance before, but you didn't cherish it. However, I can still give you another chance. It's impossible for you to live. However, I can accept your 1,000-demon city. I will kill all the saints. As for those below the saints, I can keep their lives and nurture them again. The Soaring Sky Saint King was in despair. If he died, what would he do with the saint city? Therefore he roared towards the sky. He quickly charged over. The power of his bloodline and laws were burning. It was obvious that he was going to risk his life. However, Black Mountain sneered. The black seal bloomed with light and froze the sky. The Soaring Sky Saint King was also frozen there, unable to move at all. He let out an unwilling roar, but in an instant tens of thousands of black branches pierced through his body and turned him into a bloody mist. Another Saint King had fallen. Everyone felt their hair stand on end. These Saint Kings were all supreme existences. Usually they were like gods that they could only look up to. However, at this moment they were like ants that kept falling. It was as if the end of the world was coming. Countless Saint Kings looked at Black Mountain and nodded slightly. However, in the next moment he was stunned and looked down. His gaze pierced through everything and then he frowned. Junior brother Lin, why are they here? Didn't they go to the Reincarnation Valley? Logically speaking, they should have gone to the buried Emperor Star by now. However, Black Mountain said that there was a situation there. The Reincarnation Protectors did not meet them. It seemed that they did not intend to release the seal. Damn it. The peerless Saint King's expression changed. The Saint Kings beside him also had cold expressions. This guy actually dared to not follow the rules. He actually dared to not follow the rules. The everlasting Saint King snorted coldly. On the other side, the people of the mortal world sneered. All of you have to die. Kill them. These Saint Kings also roared furiously and charged over quickly. The Saint King Yanling roared. He fought against 3 great sage Saint Kings alone. Although he was suppressed, he became more and more courageous as he fought. On the other side, the Saint King Silver Corpse was also terrifying as he controlled countless corpses. There was even a mysterious black-clothed Saint King who waved the black flag in his hand. Countless souls within it roared crazily and released terrifying soul attacks. There was also the Saint King Lei Shin's power. In an instant the battle broke out once again. Even the peerless Saint King felt the pressure. Every Saint King was in danger of dying at any time. Fortunately, it was not only the second astral realm this time. Many saint cities of the true spirit world also participated in the battle. Therefore they were able to withstand the attacks. Otherwise, just the corpse poison of the great sage would be enough to sweep through everything. This time, the corpse poison of the great sage was blocked by the saint water of the Jade Lake, resolving the crisis. At this moment, the old Saint King of the great desolate mansion was disheveled. He had once again reached his peak state. He had turned into a young man with a valiant appearance. At this moment his eyes were not focused. Suddenly he saw Lin Xian and the others below. They were actually still here. Great. If he could capture these youths, they would be able to threaten these Saint Kings. Thinking of this, he quickly charged down. He turned into a stream of light and instantly tore through the void and arrived below. A terrifying aura swept through everything. The ground below was constantly crumbling. Guan Songhai, Li Hongxiu and the others instantly felt their bodies stiffen. They could no longer move. Even Lin Xian's pupils shrank. Damn it, I was discovered by the Saint King. Chapter 44:10. This was a powerful Saint Venerate. He was much more terrifying than ordinary Saint Kings. If he wasn't so old, he would be even more terrifying. If such a person were to attack them, would they be able to defend themselves? However, at this moment, a roar came from afar. It was as if the sky was falling. Then an aurora rushed over and enveloped the old Saint King. Boom. The old Saint King roared and split into pieces. He escaped to the outer realm. As for the aurora, it slowly disappeared. Everyone felt as if they were dreaming. Murong Qingqing said that it was the power of the ancient desolate tower. Yao Qi used the ancient desolate tower again. Was it an extreme weapon? Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Great. They were saved. Qin Xiener said that since the true spirit world had extreme weapons, why didn't they use them? Murong Qingqing had said that the extreme grade weapon was a divine weapon left behind by a great emperor. Its power was too frightening, let alone a saint. Even a Saint King would not be able to activate it. In order to activate an extreme grade weapon, the amount of resources and power required was simply too much. Basically, they wouldn't use them unless the emperor's families were in danger. Moreover, there had been a dark battle in the true spirit world and extreme weapons had been used. Therefore, it was basically impossible to completely use extreme weapons now. Of course, it was still possible to use the pressure of an extreme grade weapon to attack. Just like before. After everyone heard this, they were enlightened. It seemed that the power of extreme weapons had exceeded their imagination. Perhaps no one in this world could use them. Lin Xian also knew that the 10,000 ancient races had used a lot of extreme weapons to sweep through everything back then. No matter how powerful the desolate ancient families were, it wouldn't be so easy to use them again. In the sky, the old Saint King escaped far away. However, his body was still burning and turning into a bloody mist. He was too old. Being attacked by an extreme weapon was definitely a serious injury. Therefore, at this moment he had used up the last of his life and turned into dust. He no longer existed. Damn it. Fight. On the side of the Soul Kings, their eyes were red. Too many of their people had fallen. Even those Saint Killers didn't care about anything. Even if they died, they would still attack. This was especially true for Sacred King Yenling, who was even more aggressive and sent the people around him flying. Seeing this, Peerless Sacred King took a deep breath. Black Mountain, on the other hand, said to use the Great Dragon Sword in the final battle. In a situation where an apex weapon couldn't appear, the Great Dragon Sword was probably the only useful thing. Junior brother. Peerless Saint King looked down. Lin Xian nodded and rose into the air. At the same time, the phantom of the Great Sage Hall appeared beside him and enveloped him like a suit of armor. In the next instant he took out his Great Dragon Sword Soul, and a terrifying dragon roar resounded through the 9 heavens. Everyone raised their heads again. Even the people from the 3 dragons were shocked. What kind of power was this? He could probably command a group of dragons. As for Lin Xian, he held the Great Dragon Sword Spirit in his hand and said in a clear voice, "Give me all your strength." As they spoke, those Saint Kings also quickly made their moves. As they fought, they unleashed their power. The Great Dragon Sword Spirit gathered quite a bit of energy. Then it started to change rapidly. It was as though a divine dragon had been revived. Its power was terrifying. Even Lin Xian was shocked. He was under so much pressure that cracks appeared on his divine body. He roared at the sky, and the 9 young divine bodies shone with a terrifying light. Lin Xian directly slashed down with his sword. This sword slashed at the Silver Corpse Saint King. The Silver Corpse Saint King tried to block it, but he was cut in half. His cracked body roared non-stop trying to recover. In the end he found that it was impossible. Damn it, what's going on? He screamed in fear. He had encountered countless things, but he had never encountered such a strange thing. What did his opponent use? An apex weapon? How could it be so terrifying? The expressions of the surrounding people changed drastically. Damn it. Suddenly a Saint Killer charged toward Lin Xian. 2 Saint Killers were cut in half by Lin Xian's sword, and they turned into blood mist. Then Lin Xian swept his sword again. Another Saint Killer shattered, and then the power of the Great Dragon Sword Spirit disappeared. At this moment the others were terrified. This was a good opportunity to kill the other party. As for Lin Xian, he directly hid in the Great Sage Pagoda, allowing these people to attack him. No matter how strong these Saint Kings were, they could not break the defense of the Great Sage Pagoda. The Peerless Saint King used the Law of Devour again, absorbing the power of the surrounding Saint Kings and giving it to the Great Dragon Sword Spirit. The Great Dragon Sword Spirit roared again, sweeping in all directions. Boom boom boom. This time Lin Xian mainly attacked the Silver Corpse Saint King. It was all because of this despicable guy. The Silver Corpse Saint King was killed in endless fear, and not even a drop of blood was left. Oh. When Saint King Yen saw this, he roared crazily. He had gone crazy. Did the Silver Corpse Saint King also die? This was the most promising of all his sons. He had already become a Saint King, and he estimated that he would surpass him in the future. This was his hope, but now he had fallen. Damn it, I'll kill you. He quickly rushed over. Lin Xian waved the Great Dragon Sword Spirit and fought with the other party. Boom. The two collided. The power of the Great Dragon Sword Spirit disappeared, and on the other side one of Saint King Yan's arms was cut off. He roared crazily in the air. It was obvious that this attack had seriously injured him. Damn it, what was this thing? The other saint in black had a cold expression. It was the legendary saint technique, the Great Dragon Sword. It seemed that he was the successor of the Great Dragon Sword. Damn it, let's go, I won't be able to kill them this time. After saying that, the black flag swept in all directions wanting to leave. However, Saint King Yen was not willing to give up. I don't believe it. He waved his hand and took out an ancient stone. Primordial stone. The people in the human world exclaimed. Are you crazy? However, Saint King Yen had really gone crazy. Kid, go to hell. The primordial stone bloomed with endless light, and then it flew forward. The light appeared and the primordial stone cracked. At this moment the sky fell and the earth cracked, destroying everything. Not good. When the other Saint Kings saw this scene, their pupils constricted. That was the primordial stone, and its power was equivalent to a Saint King's weapon. Now that it cracked, it was equivalent to a Saint King's weapon being destroyed. The surrounding people were stunned. A Saint King's weapon was destroyed, and the power was too terrifying. It was enough to destroy several worlds. If a Saint King was hit, it would be difficult for him to escape. Therefore they all quickly retreated. The primordial stone charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. At this moment, the great dragon sword spirit did not have much power left. Chapter 44:11. However, he did not dodge. Instead, he activated the world core. Lin Xian also controlled 2 worlds. That was the dual rain planet. At this moment, the benefits of having 2 worlds were displayed. Lin Xian could directly mobilize the power of 2 worlds across the boundless starry sky. At this moment, the 2 worlds dimmed. The power of the 2 worlds surged into his body and was injected into the great dragon sword soul. The great dragon sword soul roared again as if it had been revived. With the power of 2 worlds, it slashed forward. Boom. The shocking battle blocked that destructive aura. That's great. Peerless Sage King and the rest heaved a sigh of relief. Then they gathered the power of these Sage Kings and attacked. The great dragon sword soul became stronger again and slashed down. Boom. Sage King Spiritual King Yen was split in half. Half of his body turned into a bloody mist, while the other half flew into the black flag. It tore open the void and quickly left. Lin Xian swung his sword again. However, those people from the mortal world had mastered an extremely powerful movement technique and disappeared from the world. Lin Xian did not make a move. This was because using the great dragon sword of this level had a huge impact on his physique. At this moment, his divine body was covered in cracks. Blood flowed out from within. The golden blood was abnormally terrifying. It was also because he had a divine body. Otherwise, the other sage sovereigns would probably not be able to use a single sword. Big Brother Xian. Murong Qingqing flew over and took out the Jade Lake holy water. She covered Lin Xian with it and started to provide Lin Xian with great power. This caused the cracks to quickly heal. The surrounding sea of blood was too terrifying. This time at least a dozen Sage Kings had fallen. There were those from the deity Dao Union and even more from the mortal world. It could be said that this time the mortal world had suffered a heavy blow. Sage King Silver Corpse, Sage King Divine Ghost, Sage King Flying Sage King, and the old Sage King of the Great Desolate Mansion had all fallen. Other than that, many of the masked Sage Kings had also fallen. After this battle, even if the mortal world still existed, their strength would be greatly reduced. As for the saint cities where these Saint Kings were, they would also take action. After finding them, they would remove their names from the myriad realms. Xiaoqun left this matter to the deity Dao Union. Even if the holy cities were sealed, they would be able to find them. Lin Xian and the others knew that these people were finished. The people of True Spirit World raised their heads to look at the sky. Their faces were filled with fear. At this moment, the sky had already turned red. It released a terrifying aura. That aura wanted to tear their bodies apart. This was such a shocking battle. So many Saint Kings had fallen. This had probably never happened in the past few thousand years. At the same time, the second astral realm was also in a state of shock. This news was brought back by the people of the deity Dao Union and spread in all directions. When they learned that Holy King Silver Corpse, Holy King Sky Soar, the old Holy King of Great Desolation Mansion, and Holy King Divine Ghost had died, they were stunned. At first they didn't believe it. It was impossible. Who could make all these Saint Kings fall? However, when they learned that it was a fight between dozens of Saint Kings, and that the Silver Corpse Saint King and the others were from the human world, they were all stunned. The mortal world in the second astral realm was simply a nightmare. Who would have thought that it would actually be by their side? Moreover, it was these Saint Kings. Could it be that these Saint Kings had really fallen? Did none of them escape? Next, when they saw the sealed Acheron Palace and 10,000 Swords Pavilion being found and destroyed, they were shocked. They were completely convinced. Because these holy cities would vanish into thin air and cease to exist. Demon City. Their seals had also been removed and they had been found. The people of the Demon City were filled with despair. They had also received news that the Holy King had been killed. They felt as if the sky was falling. When they saw what had happened to the other holy cities, they were also terrified. On this day, a black-robed man arrived. He stood there like a celestial being. The people in the Demon City were all terrified. Was the end of the world coming? This figure was He Shan. He said in a clear voice, "Now, seeing that you are all demonic beasts, I will give you a chance. Those of the holy cities can report to hell. Those below the holy cities. Those who submit to me can live. If you resist, there is no need to exist." What? All the holy cities had fallen. Damn it. The eyes of those holy venerables and elders instantly turned red. Run. For a time, Countless people fled in all directions. However, in the sky Heishan sneered. He stretched out a hand and a black tree appeared behind him. It was indomitable and directly enveloped the world. It completely enveloped the entire holy city. In an instant, those saints were all pierced through and turned into a bloody mist that was absorbed by the black tree. Those below the holy cities were so scared that they prostrated themselves on the ground. We are willing to submit. They also felt that this black-robed man had an extremely terrifying aura. Moreover, he was also a Saint King. It seemed that the other party wanted to regain control of them. Alright, from now on I am the city lord of your demon city. After saying that, a terrifying aura erupted once again, engulfing the world. True spirit world. The primordial grotto was also affected. After all, Holy King Yanling had also escaped. Therefore, the primordial grotto was destroyed. However, the primordial grotto was extremely terrifying. There were also some core areas that had an extremely terrifying aura of death. Even the people of the refining gods Dao Union did not dare to enter rashly. Of course, no one walked out of the grotto. In fact, everyone thought that it was a place of death, so they did not pay any attention to it. On the other side, Lin Xian and the others were waiting again. They were waiting for the seal to open. Peerless Saint King, Kunlun Saint King, and the others joined forces and brought Lin Xian and the others there once. However, they found that the reincarnation guardian had already gone into seclusion. They could only leave and wait for the next opportunity. Eastern Wilderness. In a canyon a figure stood there. His eyes were black and white and it was very strange. It was Yurua. At this moment, he was facing the canyon in front of him with a solemn expression. There was also a terrifying aura in the canyon. It was obvious that Yurua was cultivating here. There were some people around. When they felt the aura emitted from Yurua, their scalps went numb. What a terrifying genius. No one dared to disturb him. At this moment, a few figures flew over from the vicinity. The aura of these people was even more terrifying. It was the buried Emperor's star. Jingyun was also there. At this moment he was gnashing his teeth. After all, he had kowtowed and admitted his mistake. This matter had spread and shocked everyone. He had found someone to avenge him. That person was his younger brother. Although he was young, his talent and strength were stronger than his. Therefore he said, "Brother, treat me well. Little brother, how have I treated you? This time you must avenge me." Beside Jingyun there was an even younger person. He said, "Big brother, don't worry. No matter who it is, if they dare to bully you, I will make them wish they were dead." Hearing this, Jingyun revealed a sinister smile. His younger brother had already become a half-step king. Chapter 44:12. The group of people flew quickly in the sky. Suddenly Jingyun was stunned and looked down. "What's wrong, brother?" the young man beside him asked. Jingyun sneered. "I found him. Although I didn't find that kid, I found one of his companions. If I catch her, I'll be able to find out where that kid is. Maybe I can even get him to come out." After saying that, the group descended into the canyon below. The people below were all comprehending in the canyon. Suddenly, they raised their heads and felt an extremely terrifying power coming from the sky. It was as if their bodies were going to explode. "Retreat quickly." They frantically retreated. Those who retreated too slowly were sent flying, coughing up mouthfuls of blood. This was just the descent of the aura. If these people attacked, how terrifying would it be? Yurua suddenly opened her eyes and looked at the sky with her black and white eyes. The next moment, her pupils shrank and she quickly retreated. "You want to leave? It's too late." In the sky, a sneer was heard. Then endless wind and clouds changed, forming a cage that sealed the surroundings. Then a group of people descended. The surrounding people were all frightened and raised their heads to look. Who is this person? Why is he so terrifying? When they saw Jingyun, they exclaimed in surprise. "It's him. He's an expert from the buried Emperor's star. No wonder he's so terrifying. You should be Lin Xian's companion. Tell me where he is obediently. I can let you suffer less." Jingyun's cold voice sounded. Yurua's face was cold. She didn't expect to meet these people. She sneered. "You're just a loser. What right do you have to be arrogant in front of Martial Uncle Lin? I advise you to get lost quickly. Otherwise, when Martial Uncle Lin comes, you'll have to kneel again. You're courting death." Jingyun was instantly enraged. This was his scar. Since the other party wasn't courting death, he wouldn't be polite. Sky Cloud Hand. In an instant, a terrifying aura rushed out. A white cloud palm pressed down from the sky. At that moment, it was like the palm of a god. Yu Ruo naturally knew how powerful the other party was. Therefore she didn't dare to be careless. Her black and white eyes released two extremely terrifying lights. They turned into dragons and flew forward. They pierced through the void. The two gigantic dragons danced in the sky. Then, with a sweep of their tails, the heaven and earth collapsed. Wherever it passed, it blocked the clouds that filled the sky. It was useless. Jingyun sneered without fear. The heavenly cloud hand was about to land, and sure enough, the two dragons kept shattering. Yu Ruo also felt immense pressure. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Although the other party had lost and even knelt in front of Lin Xian, this did not mean that the other party was weak. The other party was too terrifying. In the true spirit world and the second astral world, the other party could definitely sweep through everything. However, Lin Xian was too heaven-defying. That was the reason why her opponent had been defeated. However, Yu Ruo was unable to defeat her opponent. As she retreated and spat out blood, Yu Ruoyan erupted with a cold light. Then she launched a powerful eye technique attack. Jingyun snorted coldly. His body swayed and he almost fell from the sky. In the next moment he roared madly. "You dare to injure my soul?" He roared madly. No matter how strong he was now at a disadvantage in the hands of the other party. In the next moment he roared. Sky Cloud Hand, first transformation. A terrifying power instantly erupted. At the same time, the laws in his body condensed to prevent the soul bombardment. Yu Ruo vomited blood. She could not block the Sky Cloud Hand and was about to be defeated. However, at this moment, endless frost condensed between heaven and earth. The speed of the Sky Cloud Hand slowed down. Then a figure rescued Yu Ruo. "Are you alright?" Lu Yuan came. The icy aura on his body erupted. Yu Ruo said, "I'm fine, but they're too strong. Let's go first." Lu Yuan nodded. The two wanted to leave. At this moment, a young man behind them spoke. "You want to leave? Stay here." He stomped his foot and the ground cracked open. A force rushed towards the two of them. "Not good, quickly dodge." The two of them quickly retreated, their faces full of horror. Then he said, "Let's join forces." The two of them attacked together to block this attack. In the next moment, the two of them were sent flying. How could the other party be so strong? Who was this person? The two of them were too shocked. One had to know that although they could not defeat Jingyun, the two of them could still contend with him if they joined forces. However, they could not defeat this young man. This person's strength had already surpassed that of a holy venerate. "Leave quickly. More experts have come to the buried Emperor Star." The two of them turned pale. However, the young man walked out and said coldly, "With just the two of you, do you think you can escape from my hands? I'll break your limbs and make you kneel in front of my brother Kowtow and admit your mistakes. Then, when that Lin Xian comes, I'll make him suffer a fate worse than death." Jinka walked out, bringing with him a cold aura. Yu Ruo and Lu Yuan both despaired. They felt a huge pressure enveloping their bodies. They were unable to move at all. However, at this moment, a bolt of thunder descended from the sky. It was like a divine sword. The terrifying power directly attacked Jingyun. Jingyun roared and used the Sky Cloud Hand. However, he was sent flying. He was terrified. That thunder was going to pierce through him. "Brother, save me!" He roared crazily. Jinka also suddenly turned his head. A terrifying attack erupted from his eyes. In the next moment, a large hand stretched out and directly enveloped that thunder. The two collided. It was as if two worlds had collided. It was earth-shattering. This attack destroyed the thunder and killed Jingyun. When he turned his head, his expression was completely cold. That was because he discovered that Yu Ruo and Lu Yuan had disappeared. They had been rescued by someone. He had just said that with him around, neither of them would be able to escape. But now the other party had disappeared. This was a slap to his face. He roared, and the power of his body continued to erupt. A terrifying aura swept through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. His gaze seemed to have turned into a divine lamp that swept through the surroundings. In the next moment he attacked the void in the distance. This attack was too terrifying. The people around the canyon all prostrated themselves on the ground because the void in the sky had turned into chaos. The light of destruction emitted by that light was enough to pierce through a world. Not good. In the distant void, Lu Yuan and Yu Ruo's expressions changed. This attack made them feel as if they were facing a sage king. However, there was also a figure beside them. It was Lin Xian who had saved them. At this moment, Lin Xian also frowned when he sensed this power. He directly used the Taiji diagram which kept spinning and flying out. The terrifying yin-yang aura turned into a sharp sword and collided with the other party's light of destruction. Then the power in the sky exploded. Lin Xian took the two of them and used the void escape technique to leave in an instant. Not long after they left, Jinka tore through the void and walked over. Behind him, Jing Yun and the other people from the buried Emperor Star also arrived. They looked around and said, "There was no one. No one seemed to be injured. Did they escape? How was that possible?" These people couldn't believe it. Jinka also frowned. "You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."